What's up, good people? Hopefully, all systems are a go. Your boy running late as usual, Officer Faulkner. I will be sending you the link pretty much right now. And we're about to get this thing underway. I apologize for the tardiness. Y'all know how I roll. Y'all know how I get down. He ain't through with me yet. Hopefully, things change. Hopefully, things change and I can actually get my show started on time. Going forward in the future, I'll have somebody on staff working with me coming up real soon. So hopefully that helps me speed things up. But I'm sending the man of the hour, Officer Faulkner, the link right now to the show. Again, I apologize for the tardiness. And moreover, if you haven't noticed from the topic, we're going to be discussing, we're going to be discussing our black police officers harder on black people than white police officer or police officers in general. And we got the man, an actual black police officer, coming in to discuss that issue with us. And I see our shirt ain't even buttoned up. That's how late I am. So we about to be getting all the way into that. So I'd like to thank everybody who's in the building. Hit the like button on your way in, and let's get ready to go. Let's get it.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mumia Obsidian Ali. You know who I am. I need no introduction, right? And you're listening to the Grown Man Hour with my man Bernard Riley, heard weekdays right here on YouTube. What do you think about that? How about that? Now let's get back on with the show. Thank you.
All right. What's up, good people? Welcome. Glad you could be here. We're still waiting to be joined by the man of the hour, Officer Faulkner, who will be in the building momentarily. But I've been off the air for a while, so I'm glad to be back in the building. I had to shut everything down over here because, like I said, I was building things up, getting ready for some changes. Some changes to the show. Getting ready for some big changes that will be coming at the beginning of next month. November 2nd is the targeted date. It's a targeted date where I will be in my new studio, but I take a lot of this equipment over there, just trying some things out. So I had to come back here and reset up a bunch of equipment, and everything looked different. My camera, I look different. It's like it's a light on my face because I don't got the settings all the way right, and everything all out of whack, but it's all good. We are in here? People dropping stories, huh? Hazard, Kentucky. And no, we can't just talk about tricking. We'll be talking about tricking tomorrow and the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that. But we're not talking about tricking today. No, 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 not today. Shout out to the early bird squad, those that make it in bright and early. Marquise 912 says no, LOL. I mean, I like to hear that. Put it like this. I'll go ahead and give my position on this before Officer Faulkner shows up, and we can start there. Hopefully he's listening. Hopefully he can hear my position so I don't have to repeat it. but overall, I've heard people say that, and we know the epic scene from Boys in the Hood, which came out in 1991. I remember seeing it. I was born in 1982. So needless to say, I was a kid when I saw that movie. And I remember thinking to myself, why is this black police officer treating Trey like that? I remember distinctly thinking as a kid, okay, Trey don't look like a thug, a gangster. I was a kid, and I could recognize that. I knew the difference between a decent young black man and somebody who was on some hood booger, hood ninja stuff. I could tell the difference. At 9, 10 years old, I could say. So when he was questioning Trey with the gun to his neck, saying, you look like one of them Crenshaw Mafia one of the rolling 60s. So when he started reeling off gangs, and I'm like, wait a minute, Trey's not a gang member. Why is he calling Trey a gang member? I remember thinking that when I was a kid, but then I just thought that okay, this particular cop was just a jerk. That's what's all to it. That's what my kid mind thought of. But when I got older, I came to realize that, and I learned who John Singleton is, and I generally understand that nothing is unintentional. In any movie, any scene that you look at, any frame you look at, you're looking at hundreds of decisions made by a director. So when I came to realize, wait a minute, that was a deliberate point they took the time to put in that movie. Very deliberate. How he was just mean and bullying, abusive, everything, you name it. And then the white police officer was just sitting there, just chilling, just silent, not saying nothing. And then cross reference that with Ice Cube's lyrics. You know how he said the black cop showing out for the white cop. And I started to think, wait a minute, is this a thing? Is this actually a thing? Because I didn't know. I didn't think it was a thing, but I just knew Ice Cube put it in a song. In a movie that Ice Cube was in, it was depicted and played out. But I didn't think it was a thing in reality. And to some degree, I still don't. And maybe that's just wishful thinking. Maybe I'm just on some hoping that that's not the case. I've seen no personal evidence in my life and in the life of people that I know. In my experience, black cops have been more chill, much more chill and relaxed, So, but the perception is out there that black cops treat black people just as bad. Now, some data on that, when you talk about police shootings and everything, yeah, it's all the data shows that black cops shoot black people at the same rate that they shoot everybody that everybody else shoots black people. Black cops shoot and kill at the ratios of every other cop, and the people that they shoot is at the ratios with every other cop. So data wise, I'm not sure that there's a difference. But then again, we're talking about full blown murders where there's a body. There's a full blown body when that happens. So that's part of it that really can't be debated. The part that can be debated is brutality that could be potentially swept under the table. So that's the part that you really don't know. That's the part that you really don't know. I mean, some of you may feel like you know, but I can say personally, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And I genuinely don't believe, but I don't operate just on my beliefs, on my feelings, what I feel. I like to know. I like to find some data, some facts, some stats on it. And short of that, actually interviewing an actual cop, a black cop who's on the ground, who could actually answer questions, who can actually give some insight. Because in every profession, the people that do it, they have water cooler talk. At every job is that water cooler talk where you're talking about other stuff, and then you're probably talking about the job as well. You're probably talking about the various odds and ends of the job. You work in the medical field, you might get some nurses or CNAs, at the water cooler. They may talk about something crazy like how smelly a certain patient was in room 6. Oh my goodness. They'll have little conversations like that. So cops periodically be just so yeah, man. So yeah, it was this time where I had this guy, he tried to run and I chased him down and he tried to tussle me. Then I grabbed him by his neck and I belly to back suplexed him and then cuffed him. And so they just having casual conversations like that about when they had to belly to back suplex somebody. They're having water cooler talks about belly to back suplexing people. That's how I envision it. And so it's some certain insider information that a cop has about just the mindset of cops when it comes to dealing with the perp. The average person don't have, and that may not even show up in the data. That's what I would like to unpack, unlock, and unearth here. Marquise 912, shout out to you. Ilonga Savage, shout out to you. Little Rock, I'll do a little roll call, see who's in the building. Little Rock in the building with the woo. JD Rich says black people showing out for the white cops. See, I referenced that line without even reading without even reading your message. So we were on the same wavelength. He said this lynch mob ninja just being jazzy in the building. Says morning Bernard, morning to you. Genesville in the building. The Mac the trucker, let's get it. Hood service politics culture. I mean hood conservative culture and politic review. I know he probably got some opinions on this one as well. Logan JJ says, how's the new studio coming along? BR. Salute to the chat. It is coming along well. Still some work. Need to be done. I'm gonna be getting off of here and getting to work and getting everything set. Whenever you're doing or building or putting together anything, new equipment, all the whole works, Amazon is your friend. It is amazing how you can find nothing. People aren't ordering stuff online for the convenience. They order stuff online mostly because it's not there. It's not there in person no more. It's literally just not there. Like, it's crazy. Everything has to be online. It's the only place you can get it nowadays. Just walk into a store. Hey, you got this? Nope. We can order it for you. You walk in another store. Hey, you got this? Nope. We can order it for you. Well, then why did I leave the house? Because y'all ordering it. Y'all going on the website just like I could. But anyway. E. Taylor, a channel member in the building, says, shout out to BR in the chat. Let's get another good one going. Absolutely. Hopefully we can get another good one going. The Mac the Trucker, when I was making the thumbnail, it did actually come up. I saw the Bernie Mac clip. I mean, the picture of Bernie Mac and Don't Be a Menace. Yeah, I saw that when he was like, I hate. He was saying he hate everything that black. I hate Whoopi Goldberg's gums because they black. I hate the back of Forrest Whitaker's neck because it's black. Shout out to the Mac the Trucker. Shout out to Charles Faulkner again with the woo. Shout out. Let me make it down to the bottom. Make it down to the bottom. got you a gun, a little tight t-shirt, and became an overcompensating tough guy. Marcus Burnett, Bad Boy 2. Okay. All right. I didn't know Martin's name. If you would have just said, who is Marcus Burnett, I would not have known who you was talking about. Everybody know Mike Lowry. Nobody knows. Everybody know Will Smith's name in Bad Boys. Somebody knows. If that was a pop quiz question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, if it was $100,000 question, $64,000 question, people wouldn't have been able to get it. What is the name of Martin? What is Martin Lawrence's character's name in Bad Boys? I don't think nobody would have got it. Yeah, that's what Will Smith's name was. Mike Lowry. Everybody know. Everybody knows. Shout out to no one. Shout out to no one. Says, what's up, BR? Woo! Charles Faulkner Jr. Does the amount of brutality depend on the era? Blacks versus white cops, 1940s versus 70s versus 80s versus 2000s. Interesting. It probably is a era difference. We talk a lot about mass incarceration. Even though I have my views on that, I had an interesting discussion with a gentleman on my show where he was saying that all the crime and everything that's going on in the hood, he was like, if they wanted to stop that, they wanted to shut that down, they could shut that down right now. They could have police cars out there driving around, making sure. Hey, Charles Faulkner in the building. Where you at? I know I was late, so I'm in no position to be criticizing you for being late, but you're late. You are late. Georgia Boy says, me as a 6'4" black man who was born and raised in the South has actually had all good interactions with cops. Me too. I had one interaction I didn't care for, but it wasn't like a brutality type of thing. It was just, oh, he a jackass. It was just he's a jackass type of thing, where it went. I was young and riding dirty. I like to put my stuff out there before somebody expose me. If you look at my criminal record, you will find that I have a DUI. Yes, I got a DUI before. And I have a lot of driving without proof of insurance. I have a lot of those on my record. So if you ever pull up my police report, that's what you will find. A DUI and driving without proof of insurance. Okay, well, this time when I was driving without proof of insurance, my birthday is June 28th. Okay? My birthday is June 28th. It was July 1st. My plate was one day bad. It was over the weekend. I couldn't get to the Secretary of State. I'm going to take care of it on Monday, but I'm not about to not drive this weekend. So I did that. And it wasn't like I was out partying. I mean, it was like a Sunday. I was going to do something for my brother. I was on my way to my brother's house and got pulled over. And so then I got pulled over with a bad plate, no proof of insurance. I was about 20, 21, 22. I was in the early 20s range. Was I in the, yeah, I don't know. Something like that. Anyway. Oh wait, no. I was probably might have been mid-20s. But anyway, I was so yeah, I was riding dirty. Shout out to JC down there. I was riding dirty. And this was the technicality that made me, because back then I used to, call everything racist back then. I was like a lot of black folks call everything racist. I was one of them back then. So I said he was being racist because he did me like this. And Officer Faulkner in the back, and I want to hear his response to this story. I'm about to bring him up. He did me like this. Based off the law in Michigan, if I didn't have proof of insurance and I state that I have insurance, I just didn't have proof. Okay. If I stated that I had insurance and didn't have proof, he couldn't take me to jail. He just give me a ticket for the expired plate and a no proof insurance ticket. But if I state that I don't have insurance, now I just admitted I don't have insurance and my plate is bad. Now he can take me to jail. He asked me like 3 times, and I gave him a long-winded answer because I was on some bull back then. Not that I was on some pookie stuff, but I mean, I used to ride dirty. I used to ride dirty. It is what it is. So I gave him a long-winded answer, and then I was talking like I had insurance, but it may have dropped. I don't know, maybe so. And he was like, "Yep, okay." And he hit me with a Jesse Lee Peterson. He was like, "Do you have insurance?" I gave him another, yeah, I think so, maybe no. It may have dropped. I was about to pay that. I was going to pay the insurance when I went to take care of the plate tomorrow. My birthday just passed. The weekend came, couldn't make it to the Secretary of State. And then, so on Monday, I was going to take care of it all. Even if I don't have insurance, I was going to take care of the insurance and the plate, everything on Monday. I just had to, yeah. So I'm sitting there doing all of that. And he's like, do you have insurance? He asked me like 3 or 4 times and finally got me to state, no, I don't got insurance. Okay, step out of the vehicle. I was like, it's like he was on some, I'm going to arrest you. I just need to get you to say the right thing so I can. And he got me to say the right thing. And then, yeah, he asked me to step out of the vehicle, put me in cuffs. He searched my car for like 45 minutes trying to find something. Nothing was there. I didn't do nothing but just go to work and come home and ride dirty. But anyway, so in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking that, oh, that's why he was so adamant about asking that question, because he needed a reason to arrest me, to get me out the car, to get me in cuffs, so he could search my car to try to find where I hide my weed. That's what he was doing. But there was no weed there because I didn't smoke weed or do anything. However, in my mind, that was my bad experience with a cop where I was like, yeah, see, they racist. But I'm like, okay, I was riding dirty. So anyway, that was my only bad experience with the with the cop. My only one. The Max truck in the building said, "Don't feel bad, Bernard. I had probation because of no insurance. No insurance on probation back in the day. Man, that's crazy. That is insane. I didn't know you could have probation for no insurance." But anyway, we got the man of the hour in the building. Oh, Faulkner. Welcome to the show. Hold on, I don't even know if you let out a woo. If you did, I can't hear you. Okay, now you can let it out. Go ahead.
Whoa! You gotta say the woo. Come on, you gotta say it, brother.
Woo!
There
Gotta
you
do
go.
it for you. Yeah, I
There
can
you
tell
go.
you gotta get some what's the, I don't even know what medicine is best for that, but you need to get that checked out. But Officer Faulkner in the building.
If you got a woo, and I mean, if you pee in the morning, you go whoa. Oh no, that's not good. That's not good. What's
Yeah,
up, man?
wait, hold on real quick.
This.
Hold on real quick, Pablo. I asked him that when I was on my way to jail. I said, so had I lied to you and said, yes, I have insurance, you would not have been able to arrest me. He said, no. And I said, but because I told the truth and said, no, I don't have insurance, now you're able to arrest me. Yes. So it would be better for me to just lie to you in that situation. Yes. Like, he literally explained it like that, and I was just like, what the hell? That's what I get for being honest. But anyway, go ahead. What's your thoughts on the story that I told? For the black people that like to find racism under every rock,
I
was
never
he?
got that. Like, everything's not racist. I mean, an asshole comes in all shapes and colors. People may not like you because they just don't like you. There's some people out here who are not racist. They're just assholes.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't figured that out yet. It's like, oh, this person's racist. No, they're like that to everybody. So
Yeah.
don't feel special. Don't feel special. I mean,
Yeah.
you got. I really think it takes the sting out of actual racism when you keep blaming everything on racism. Like, if you score within the top 2% on the SATs and they come up with some bullshit reason, and you notice all the white kids go, yeah, I can call racism on that. But if you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing and you get arrested, not racist.
Right.
Unless that guy is saying something that is obviously racist. Okay, you got something there, but nah, it's not that.
Well, all right. So let's get into it. I gave a little backstory on, my childhood experience watching Boys in the Hood and seeing the scene and just being confused about why the black cop was treating Trey like that. Then got a little older, and then I, went back. I heard Ice Cube's lyric, the black cop showing out for the white cop, and the whole works. And so it's like in that sense, the media kind of like, put it in my mind. This black media, by the way, put it in my mind that black cops are somehow treating black people worse than white cops. But I never thought that it was true, and it was never my experience. But a lot of people say that. So I'm gonna pass it to you. What's your overall thoughts on that?
Everybody's experience is different, but for the most part, what I've seen and what I've experienced, black cops give a lot of black people breaks. You never hear about the cop who gives you a break when you know you were riding without a license.
Mm-hmm.
You never hear that story. You never hear the cop when you were riding in somebody else's car and you plainly shouldn't have been in that car. Or there's a lot of times we look out for people and you don't hear shit. And I challenge anybody on that. Like, you're telling me every time you met with a cop, and I'm gonna say this before the rest of it. Tell me the whole story, what you did, what the cop did, what happened, the totality of the situation. It's very rare you'll ever hear somebody was like, wow, that cop looked out for me. he had me did the rights. There are so many times, because arrests don't make or break a cop. It really doesn't. Nobody's going to get a promotion because you get 80 arrests a month. And if you got 80 arrests a month, I'm going to look at you strange and be like, yeah, you planting shit. Because it's very hard.
But y'all do have quotas though, right? In terms of
it is. I'm going to put it to you, the quotas is a myth because it's illegal to have a quota. You cannot tell me I need to have X amount of tickets. If everybody has no no tail lights out, no brake lights out, if there's no reason to ticket that subject, then you don't ticket them. I'm not gonna try to, if I pull you over, I don't have to give you a ticket. I could just say, okay, just get that fixed. Or I could give you a repair order. But I don't like a quota. I even asked the lieutenant, tell me that I gotta do this. Well, we can't do that. Exactly.
Okay, well, what if you show up to the monthly meeting and they're like, okay, Officer Johnny Walker issued 70 tickets. Officer Deputy Dipshit offered 57 tickets, but we're looking at
deputy.
Yeah. I wanted to say deputy. I wanted to say deputy dipshit, but I started with officer.
Deputy. Well, officer, deputies are sheriff, and
I get it. But I get it, but
so what?
But okay, but then but hold on. But they look over at Officer Faulkner, and he issued 0 tickets in the month of October.
So what?
So you literally can sit there in the meeting and say, I didn't see nobody speeding.
I can say that. There's no reason. The fuck you want me to do? Speeding. I'm not gonna make up crimes. Shit. No, that's illegal.
At that point, I think you'll be on notice. They'll be looking for your car, trying to catch you sleeping in it. That's what they'll be doing the next month.
And guess what? I could find them sleep too. So and it has literally happened. Like, we're gonna walk. That vacation day. Yeah, let's politic for a minute.
Yeah, trust me, it's been plenty of times. I've been doing 90 past a cop in a speed trap, and I was like, oh shoot! And then I look, he got to be asleep because I went by him like a blur. Ain't no way he saw me closing in on 100 miles. I try not to drive. I don't drive like that no more. But but he I know this dude. I know he had to be over there knocked out. But yeah, so that's my theory. Y'all be over there just posted up sleep, and then y'all wake up like, all right, let me go here, because this one I thought y'all had quotas. I thought y'all just sat there and slept for half the day and was like, all right, let me get my 4 tickets out the way. Let me stretch, get up, and go write some tickets, and then go lay back down. So that's not what y'all do. That's not a thing.
Now I'm gonna just say this. I think that officers should be proactive. I don't believe that you should not be proactive. Your ass should be seen and patrolling around your sector or your post. It's like this. There's some things I cannot understand. I don't like a kiss ass. Fuck you. Um, I don't like anybody who tries to pan or put their work on another else. I think that's some fuckboy shit or fuck girl shit because women, there are some police women who do that shit, try to use their feminine wiles to go get some easy work or just want to, hey, can you handle this call and blink and bash their eyes like, no.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of times you go through a lot of some scenarios when it comes to that, like, but it's like any other job where you got the hard workers and you got the lazy motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm. Tie City Garage in the building says departments have been exposed for that. It's not a myth. He's saying that departments have been exposed for having quotas.
It's a
Your
myth
thoughts?
because it's illegal. You will get, it is criminally, you will get criminally charged as a supervisor to tell somebody, I want 15 tickets. That's a quota. So, unless you're in the industry. See, I don't tell doctors and lawyers about their profession, but people tell me about mine all the time. They made that illegal like 20 some odd years ago. Go ahead and tell them you got a quota.
Okay.
You can't.
Wait, hold on. That clears some things up because if it was made illegal 20 years ago, we got to realize that it's about to be 2022. So we're talking 2001.
And probably longer than that. And they probably made it longer than that. You can't do the quotas because a lot of times, for instance, a lot of that quota shit started when the 90s and 2000s with a lot of the can you hear me?
Oh no, I thought you was winding up to bring up to blame the Biden crime bill.
Well, part of it is well, actually that is one of the reasons. The crime bill came out, and also because everything started on the East Coast, New York down. So a lot of these guys who were higher up in New York were getting hired as police commissioners or police chiefs, and they were bringing certain, how do you say, cultures with them, like the zero tolerance and shit like that, which when you do the stats, I forget which year, so I'm not going to say it. They said they made over 110 arrests that year.
Okay.
How much do you think that affected crime?
Making 110 arrests in a year?
Mm-hmm.
And was this a small?
For one,
And
for one
to be completely honest, I got up and I could hear you, but I was playing with my settings. So you're saying in a year, 110 arrests? That sounds very low. Is this like a small, Amish community?
That's Baltimore. That's a 1 year, 110
In
arrests. That's a lot of
Baltimore,
arrests.
they
That's a
made
lot of
100
arrests. 10
and
arrests that year. And that's a
that don't
lot of
sound like a
arrests.
lot at all.
You got to think about it. If you arrest 20 people a day, so it adds up. But when you
So
actually
you're saying that more arrests didn't affect crimes?
No, they didn't affect it.
See, but see now, one thing that they would always say, they said that stop and frisk reduced crime. A lot of the rules that they put in place, it actually reduced crime, but it also had people locked up for little petty stuff. So it turned into a situation
it really didn't. It really didn't reduce crime.
Okay.
I mean, do I understand stop and frisk? If I see a person outside of a store and they're checking a bulge, yeah, I can stop you and question you. What are you doing? But there's certain characteristics of an armed person. Yeah, you go into those criteria. But when you're talking about stopping and frisking,
what are time out. I got to stop you. What are the characteristics of this armed person?
I'm gonna put it to you this way.
Uh-oh.
When you have a large bulge in the pocket, and that person usually doesn't move, they do pat checks to check to see if it's still there. Is it perfect? No, nothing's perfect. And usually that person is carrying that bulge. You'll see police do it all the time because you're carrying a weapon. You always do these safety checks to make sure the weapon's still there. You tend to not move that arm as much as freely as you when you're walking. You'll see, like, sometimes if you pay attention, I've gotten really good at hiding guns on me. So most of my friends will see me in t-shirts and they'll be like, and I'll like bend over or I'll take it out when I'm home and they'll be like, I didn't even know you had that shit on you. So you're not supposed to. That's the point. It's always different criteria that go into it. And you notice certain things about it because hell, I'll be like looking at police when they all duty, you'll be like, damn, that shit is true. Now, if you stop the person and you notice it might be like a sandwich or something, hey, just apologize and be like and explain what went on. There's nothing
I don't
wrong
think
with
cops
explaining.
ever do that. I
I do.
think they just do what they do. They find out that they wrong and they just walk off smug and just leave you there like, you know,
You can't
that
you can't be smug because number one, smug is just rude. Like I've had we had an armed robbery one time and the suspect's clothing description: Timberland boots, black pants, yellow shirt, and black coat. And a guy who was literally one of my old classmates fit the description. I'm like, dude, just sit on the ground. Let's make sure. I know you, but let me just make sure. And come to find out it wasn't him. And I explained everything, had the dispatcher play back the description. And he was like, oh man, I'm glad you checked me. Shit. And he was like, he says, that's crazy. He's like, shit, I would have stopped me too. And when you actually explain your actions, which means you're transparent, people are at ease about it. Like, okay, I understand. Like, I get it now. Like, I would have done, like, put a lot of times you put the person in your shoes, what would you do? And
mhm.
most people will say, okay, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I had a situation. Oh, I gotta take that. I said initially I had one bad experience with the cops. This wasn't a bad experience. It was just like a like experience. Trying not to cuss in the first hour of the show, but it was an experience where she should have explained to me what was going on because I know something was going on, and I figured out on the news what was going on. Actually, I got pulled over by a cop. This was a black female cop. She pulled me over. She approached the car with her gun drawn, held low but drawn. The cop walk where they like tiptoeing up, like they almost like a cat burglar walking up on the car with the gun low. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? And then so she came and she went through the normal routine, asked me the normal questions, driver's license, proof of insurance. While she's doing all of that, I see two more cars come up. And then they get out and then they like flashlight inside, looking around. She ran my stuff, I guess ran my plate and everything. And then she came back and was like, okay, you're all set. You're blah, blah. I'm like, what? I am. I'm sitting there trying to figure out what the hell was all of this. And and so I had asked her, this was, and by then the other cops was leaving. And so I asked her, I was like, so why did you have your gun drawn out when you walked up? She was like, Shell, it's crazy people out here. And I was like, yeah, that's true, but that didn't answer my question. I later found out later that day that it was they caught the guy they was looking for,
Mm-hmm.
and he drove the same car as me. Because see,
Mm-hmm.
this is where I'm about to sound like a Pookie again. I was riding around in a Cadillac, and
Riding around and getting it, huh?
yeah, I was driving my old school. I ain't even in the cars like that, but I did have a lack one time. I did have a
Cruising down the street and get 6'4", huh?
yeah, exactly. But but so yeah, I saw this. I saw what I watched the news, and I was like, oh, they thought I was this guy. And so now they're not duty bound to explain to me why three cars pulled up, why she came with her gun drawn. But it would have been good to know. It was
It's funny because I tell a lot of people, why why do you need one person? We had this Outward Bound when we had the week-long in service. because you have to go to for your certifications every year. So we would go to this community center, the Carmelo Anthony Community Center, and we would meet up with the kids, and they're like 8th and 9th graders, and they're like, "How come we see the police, and you got 6 or 7 people with one guy?" I said, "Okay, you want to know why? Yeah, all of y'all the police. I'm the suspect. Put me down on the ground." So one little girl grabs one arm, one little boy grabs the other. A couple of kids grab my legs, and I'm just walking with them. Two of them grab my neck, and I'm still walking with them. I said, "Notice I'm not fighting you." So they're like, "Wow, you got like 8 of us, or you're still walking." Yep. I said, "You gotta realize, I don't know what you know. A lot of the average cop is not Officer Faulkner. Not saying Officer Faulkner is RoboCop or Superman sometimes, but in all reality, I've fought guys on PCP. I'm pretty competent in boxing. I've dropped people with jabs before. I hit this guy with a right hand straight to his jaw, and he was about 6'3", 185 pounds. He stumbled back and started giggling. I'm like, oh shit. It took 20 minutes to subdue him. Okay. And it was just me and one other officer. And this guy was like crazy. As soon as we took him to the hospital, it took like 10 security officers to get him down, and we had to go back in and help them. Because whatever shot the nurse gave him, I guess it reacted with the PCP, weed, and embalming fluid he was smoking earlier. So
yeah, that'll do it.
I'm more so one of those candid people, even on my channel. I like to explain things of how different procedures work. Of course, there's different jurisdictions have their own laws and ordinances, but for the most part, some things are very similar.
All right.
So,
well, the guy who you took 20 minutes to subdue, I guess the important question is, why didn't you just shoot him?
Well, I have another partner. We basically didn't
I'm
have
trolling.
to.
I'm trolling with that question, but that's how people.
I'm gonna ask you, because a lot of people. I'm gonna answer you very direct. We didn't have to.
Yeah. Okay.
If it came down to it, I would have shot him. We didn't have to. Some
Well,
situations you would have.
wait. That's the important part. What would have a 20-minute wrestle scuffle that does not come to you having to shoot him?
Nah.
What happens to make it okay? We're wrestling with him for 20 minutes. We don't have to shoot him. What has to happen to make you say, okay, we got to shoot him?
If this guy is overpowering me, okay, I'm gonna back up for a minute.
Okay.
How tall are you, Bernard?
6'1".
How much do you weigh?
Oh shoot! Don't ask me that. Y'all can't see my gut. Okay, I'm comfortably over 200 pounds. Comfortably over 200 pounds.
I'm about 5'10", 280. So
you about how much?
280.
280. Okay, damn it. I'm 240 then. Fuck it.
Every time I go to the doctors, my doctors say, "Fuck you. You don't even look like it, like a brick."
I'm like, yeah. I'm
it will be
way.
if I'm wrestling around with you, and there's certain criterias, like, okay, the strength should be equal, even though everybody's different in some form. I can bench press almost 500 pounds. So not a lot of people can do that. Not saying. So I've been trained to wrestle and box and do MMA. So my skill level, my strength level, my comfortability level in situations is going to differ from a guy who's about 5'6", 160 pounds. Where if he's going against somebody like you or I, like actually you and me, somebody like us. So if he was going against somebody like us and we could easily overpower him, yeah, that's a different story. Or if it's like a female officer, like I was dating a female officer who had to shoot a guy, and he took her taser and was about to use it, so she had to shoot him.
So for you, the criteria is if you're being overpowered. If you feel like you're potentially about to get to the point where this person is going to gain such
An
an
advantage.
advantage to where
Yes.
they could take your gun or your taser from you, then it's like you got to
Yes.
preemptively shoot them because you
Because
clearly.
if they get to your gun, FBI statistics say there's an 80% chance they'll use it on you.
Oh yeah.
So
So
anybody could just
that raises a question because your threshold for I'm being overpowered or about to be potentially overpowered is different from some other cops. So some other cops, they probably just physically just don't got it. So when they get to tussling with, I'll go ahead and say it, little white cop getting tussling with Nuck Nuck and them, he like
mm-hmm.
Nuck Nuck got to jump on me. I've been growing up through high school. Anytime I encountered a Pookie or Nuck Nuck, I got my ass whooped. So this ain't gonna end well for me. I'm trying to arrest Nuck Nuck and he resisting, and now we tangled up. I have to shoot him because I can't run the risk of him really just getting the upper hand in this tussle. Is that so? Would you say that's the psychology as to why they shoot? Where we just looking at it
Well,
like it's just two men tussling. Why you had to shoot them?
every situation is different.
Mm-hmm.
So to judge what would a reasonable officer do, that's usually what they're going to look at it. If let's say you're out and you're a state trooper compared to being a police officer of a municipality, that state trooper is usually, if he's going through something, he's usually not going to be backed up by another state trooper. It's going to be a different jurisdiction if he's lucky. And you don't understand how big states can be till you on those highways and you're driving through up and down and all kinds of ways in the state. So let's say you're inside of Baltimore where your backup is like 30 seconds to a minute away on average. It takes us about 2 minutes to get to a call on average, 2 to 3 minutes, and your backup's there within 30 seconds to a minute. The criteria is going to be a little different because, okay, was this guy able to get more cops on scene? Was he able to call more cops on scene? I've been in situations where this tells you how long ago it happened. The PlayStation 4 came out. So the place I'm going up to GameStop and putting money down on it, like happy as a motherfucker, I'm getting my shit. So this older guy in a Cadillac was saying, "Oh, there's some guy beating up this girl." And I'm like, "Oh shit." I'm like, somebody need to call the police. Shit, I really wanted to say that, but I had to handle it. And this was not a call. This was just an on view. There's a difference between a call and an on view situation. A dispatch call, obviously you get it from the dispatcher. On view was if the incident happened right in front of you without the dispatch issuing it out. So if anybody's from Baltimore, this incident occurred on York Road and Woodmore. So the guy who had a wife beater on, his shirt in his hand, had little speckles of blood on him.
Hold on. He was actually wearing a wife beater while beating his wife?
No, it wasn't. Wait till the story.
Okay.
It's even
Because
better.
you said it was a domestic situation. So
no, it wasn't domestic. It wasn't domestic because
they
didn't know each other. See, domestic is if you have carnal knowledge of each other.
Right.
Like when people say, I got into this domestic issue with my mother. I said, so you're fucking your mother? No, then it's not domestic.
He said, "You're like, yeah, and so."
I was like, I'll be like, in certain states, that's illegal too. But I'm like, so I get out the car, and I'm like observing the whole damn thing because I'm trying to see what the hell's going on. So this guy was a big guy too. He was about 30 pounds heavier than me. So I didn't even, things happened so quick, I couldn't even get on the radio yet. As soon as I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's squatting down, like, how motherfuckers doing jail pictures and shit, they gotta do the cool ass squat. And he's squatting down at the wall, little trickles of blood on his wife beater, and he's got his shirt in his hand. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? He's like, nothing. And I see the girl come over. I want you to take your fist, right? Make a fist. Put it against your eye.
Hold on. Okay.
Put it against your eye. Right. That's how big the knot he knocked on. He hit the girl in the head. That's how big the knot on her head was.
Okay.
And then I'm like, oh, you're under arrest. Like, so he started running.
Man, you were supposed to break out the Baghdad, Iraq. You're supposed to go in there and find out what did she do to deserve that. I'm just playing. I'm joking.
No. No.
That's I haven't been to those other countries, but that's what I hear. That well, you said it wasn't a domestic situation, but I hear woman gets slapped up if the authorities show up. They're like, "What did you do?" they want to.
When I was in Iraq, when I was in Iraq, I did have to train like Iraqi police and shit. And trust me, if you think you see brutality here, it will be 5 Iraqi police beating your ass to the car, still beating your ass while all 5 of them, plus you, in the car, still, even the driver swinging back, hitting some. And then they see the back of the seat swinging, getting some blows in. They take him to the jail, pull him out, still beating his ass to the jail. Like, Jesus.
And that's how they treat the women.
That's how they treat jaywalkers. Shit. Let's not go to Brazil. How do you stop a bank robbery in Brazil? You shoot up the bank. God damn. So when Americans actually talk about brutality, I give you Exhibit A.
But all right, so you went there. She had a big knot on her face that big. And,
I go try to grab the guy when it's called a single leg. Try to take him down. He kicks me off. I'm like, oh, so you got to do that. So I double leg him. Shout out to Jordan Burroughs, even though I've been wrestling before he was. But anyway, took him down to the ground. Really big guy. Of course, I know how to wrestle, know how to grab the mount. You do it in jiu-jitsu, you get control. The guy actually swings up, hits me. So I hit him with a fist, and his bottom tooth went through his bottom lip.
Ew.
I want you to keep, that's injury number 1.
Mm-hmm.
The guy is still fighting. He hits me again, so I hit him with an elbow and around the eye and cracked his orbital bone. The guy's still fighting, by the way. he actually grabs my gun.
Oh.
So at that point, it's deadly force. So I grab his wrist so he can't pull it out the holster, even though it's a triple lock. But depending on how good your lock is, he can't pull it. I wasn't trying to find out. So I grabbed his wrist, went for a Kimura or a double wrist lock, and broke his arm. He reached over and grabbed my knife in my pocket, grabbed his wrist, reached over, put him in another Kimura, broke his other arm. This motherfucker is still fighting. This went on for about 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, dude, just stop. And he's so hyped up on adrenaline alone that he's still fighting now. And I'm like, I'm carrying about 35, 40 extra pounds of gear, and this shit is getting fatiguing. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, because you're fighting Wolverine. He's apparently regenerating every time. You breaking arms, and he just coming back, putting it back.
And then every time I tell the story, I said, like, I'm just do I have to shoot you? Because I'm doing bodily harm to you and you're not stopping.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's times where if especially if I'm fatigued because I'm wearing all this shit and this guy is still fighting, like, look, I gotta shoot this motherfucker before I tire out. And thank God I didn't. But, and backup finally came because it was like, people calling 911 about a cop fighting the suspect in the road. I couldn't just get to my damn radio and be like, hey, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've actually made World Star too, by the way, from another
Oh
incident.
snap! How long
I
ago was
made
you on
World.
World Star?
Shit. How many years was this? This has to be like 3, 4 years ago. It was. I actually put a guy in a Kimura. Love that move. While his pregnant girlfriend was trying to fight with other officers. I'm just like, what the hell?
Wait, hold on. The guy who was out there regenerating. This guy
No,
black or
this was a
white?
different. The
I know. I'm
guy.
asking. I'm going back.
Well, the guy, he was a black guy, and the girl was
Okay.
black too. He and
Okay.
come to find out, the reason why he hit her was because she didn't give him her phone number.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
I was like, so I had to go to the hospital because we were fighting on the ground, and if you look at my wrist, you can see there's a whole bunch of scars. You know, I'm hitting, like when I hit him so hard that you could actually see teeth prints in my knuckles, and the back of my hands were scraped raw against the ground where it wasn't even red, it was white. So I had to go to the hospital for that shit
Mm.
and get cleaned out and all that other shit. And I'm like, had to go, like I was on a death, like I wasn't even on a death. I think I was out for like a week or two before they could heal up because you can't work with open wounds, obviously. So I was out home chilling, playing Madden and Street Fighter. But you know,
As
so
well. Sir Tyson in the building with the $20 super chat says, "What up, Bernie? Shout out to the homie Officer Faulkner. Ironically, I'll be Black Virgin, Ric Flair belt robe and all for Halloween this weekend.
whoa,
Willing, willing and dealing, limousine riding. Whoa!
like
Trying to
make
hold
sure
them
you
alligators. Trying to
make
hold
sure
them
you hold
alligators
them
down.
alligators down, baby.
Yeah.
You gotta hold them alligators. Man, I had to get me a pair of alligators because of that shit. Oh yeah, that reminds me of one of his famous promos. Like I actually named it after that. Like my first video that I ever did on YouTube was called "Spilled Liquor."
Yeah.
Spilled liquor. Like I actually told this chick, and she's trying to brag about how much she made. I said, "Shit, I spend more money on spilled liquor, shit, than she made." God damn.
Wait, hang on. Actually, deal with that super chat. I gotta step away for a second. Gotta go answer the door. But deal with that
Okay.
super chat.
Okay. Make sure it's not a black van, man. I like to hear Officer Faulkner's perspective of the officers acquitted and the CBS mother's action after the Freddie Gray trial. Um, I'll say this: the part that they did wrong, because I've read up on a lot of the case, and a lot of it's crazy because the part that they did wrong, if he says that he needs to go to the hospital, you play the game, you take him to the hospital. That's the part they really messed up on. Did the officers do anything wrong? No. I'm just in a lot of the injuries, the medical examiner, which, to let you know, the medical examiner is his own entity. They do not answer to us. They may work with us, but they're their own entity, and they make good money, and they're not going to sacrifice their money to save any cop. If you do anything, they will tell. They have no problem telling. They're You will be charged. So the Freddie Gray situation, man, that blew up a lot. So if you wouldn't even heard about it, if they just would have took the guy to the hospital, and even if he died in their care, it would have shown that, okay, they made an attempt or stopped and called a medic to their location. I'll give you a good example. I had a guy, and this happened around 6:40 in the morning, and we were getting and we get off around 6:45 ish. But because it was a part one crime, which is like a high priority crime, It was a guy threatening his child's mother, who was pregnant with their child, with a knife to the throat. So of course the cowardly bastard ran out the back and stole her check card. He tried to use it, and I know the store he tried to use it, so he was on foot. He didn't drive away. He was really close. So I had a picture sent to my work phone of how he looked. And I saw this guy, the same exact guy, go into this gas station. At that time, I pulled my gun out. And people be like, why would you pull your gun out? If that motherfucker's pulling a knife on a pregnant woman who happens to have his baby in her stomach, you don't give a fuck about anybody.
Right.
And I'm telling him, like, you better get the fuck on the ground. Like what? You raise your hands up, you getting shot. A couple of times. So he's on the ground. He's like, I ain't take nothing. I ain't do nothing to her. Of course, I found the card. Of course, I found her mail and all this other shit. Call for the medic. It's funny because the acting lieutenant, she's a sergeant, so she was the SIC sergeant in charge of the morning shift, because it overlapped, because the morning shift, it was the morning shift's call. She's like, go send Faulkner the backup before he killed this motherfucker. But no, it was like, as soon as the wagon comes, because now in the Baltimore City, I'm pretty sure in many other jurisdictions, there's cameras all over that wagon. Even if you cut the wagon off, it still records 15 minutes after.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to buckle him in the seat, make sure that he's in there properly. He somehow unbuckles himself and falls on the floor of the wagon, saying, I need a medic. I need a medic. So you have 7 cops there with body cams looking at him, with the cameras aside and around the damn van of that wagon. And we're like, okay, you want to play this game? We're going to play this damn game. Mm-hmm. So the medic comes get him. And then the medics know, because they know when people are bullshitting. Even the emergency room doctors be like, okay, this guy's bullshitting. Nobody did anything to you. Now all of a sudden you're hurt. You want to scream, police brutality, all this other bullshit. So eventually he went to the emergency room. He was prioritized to be seen. And the doctor looked at him. They checked his vitals. They said, do you have any open wounds? They said no type of trauma, no type of injuries. Okay. He's clear. Here's his discharge papers. Take it up to central bookings. He's out. He's up in the jail. So the problem with the Freddie Gray case, which they should have done, was call the medic or take him directly to the hospital. But if it's something severe, because when you look at the paperwork, and the findings from the medical examiner, a lot of his injuries was banging against that metal frame. And Freddie Gray is not a big guy. He's not like my big 22-inch neck ass, where I can take a lot of force. A lot of dudes out here got necks like a stack of dimes. And I'm reading it and I'm like, oh shit. And all this time they come out with this. I think Marilyn Mosby personally did some stupid shit, and she wanted a gag order because a lot of shit that she did that was wrong, where they had a major in the sheriff's department sign off on papers that he didn't even read, and admitted that he didn't even read, and they went around the trial illegally in the first place. And they were trying to reach for a story that wasn't there. Now, are there times when you have officers who did some fucked up shit? Yes, we call them the Gun Trace Task Force. And a lot of the shit started getting caught because a lot of these dumb motherfuckers were putting in overtime slips when they were off. How you putting in overtime slip and your ass is in Ocean City? So it's crazy.
Marquise in the building with the super chat. He says, worst experience I had as an officer. I thought he was going to say with an officer, but he said worst experience I had as an officer was a female arrested pulled out her tampon. Oh, so he is an officer, a female he was arresting pulled out her tampon and hit me with it. Okay.
I've had females can be pretty fucking nasty, dude. They will do some nasty, ill-gotten. See, guys, the worst they'll do is run from you or try to fight you. You can respect that. My job to catch you, your job to get away. All right, we understand. Women, they're just foul. And I remember I had to go get 2 times. I remember women just lost their fucking mind. One was when I was a trainee. I was an officer, but you have to go to field training before you graduate the academy.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing about being a surgeon. Before you're a surgeon, you still got to cut somebody. You got to get the training. You go through your academics in the academy, then you go on the street with a field training officer. So we go in there into the apartment, and we're looking for this guy who's wanted on a warrant. You ever seen when girls have all their stuffed animals in the closet?
Mm-hmm.
This motherfucker had a skull cap with his face covered up, looking like one of the stuffed animals.
Ah.
I kid you not. It was some fucking police academy shit. He had like this little goofy mask, and I'm like, and it was and the room was dark. So if I wasn't paying attention to like, why is that stuffed animal moving? So I grabbed him by his neck and try to, like, motherfucker, if you don't get out the fuck out of here. And then his girlfriend, like, tried to grab me. And I'm like, by the power of I turn her, you know? Like, and I'm just looking at her like, you got 3 seconds to get the fuck off before I slap you into oblivion. Like, and she just backs off and lets him go. It's like, while I'm handcuffing him. A worse scene was when this was like when I was on boarding shift, and the daughter was staying with the aunt, and she did not have the permission of the mother to go over there. So the mother is like, I'm her mother. She's being disobedient. She doesn't want to go to school. Her aunt lets her stay out of school, smoke weed, and all kinds of crazy shit. So we get there, and the aunt, I see the daughter, like, come on, young lady, you got to come with us. Go to your mother. She has legal custody over you. The aunt literally starts to try to fight me. I'm like, and I'm looking at this woman. She trying to swing, and I'm like ducking and dodging, looking like Goku from Dragon Ball and shit, you know. So next thing you know, I had to like front kick her right in the stomach. Like, bitch. I think I might have said it. And I kicked her so hard. She went so deep in the closet, she was finding Christmas gifts. So I'm like, this bitch is crazy. So as soon as we go outside, she follows us when we're giving the daughter to the mom, and she tries to attack me again. So I just pick her ass up and throw her like 10 feet. It was like, fuck all this. Now you going to jail. And come to find out, a year after that incident, they tried to serve me with some papers that she's trying to sue me for police brutality. This shit didn't go anywhere. They like, fuck her.
How often does that happen? Wait, how often does that happen at some, well, I guess, yeah, for you, did somebody try to sue you for some type of wrongdoing that you manhandled them too hard or what? Like, how often does that happen?
That only happened twice. That time and another time when it was a special needs guy. You can physically tell. I mean, he was aware, but you know, there was a delay, if you get what I mean. And this is the reason why I will publicly say this. The internal affairs of Baltimore Police Department really needs an overhaul. one, they're too charge happy for shit that shouldn't even be chargeable. Once you find no evidence or nothing about it, why the fuck you charging them? Why you like literally the whole incident's on body cam. And I'm pretty sure none of these dumb motherfuckers even said, well, this doesn't make sense. We're on wine. What was it? Renwood. We're on Renwood. And I'm looking at these people who are on the steps, do you see? And I've asked this question while on body cam. Do you see anybody out here who was a part of the people who robbed you, other than that guy I just caught? No. And I looked at them. I said, "Y'all some stupid motherfuckers." Like that. There's certain shit that I look at it. I'm like, y'all so charge happy that you don't even do a proper investigation. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, if it's an officer doing wrongdoing, okay, I get it. But when the officer's doing his job and you're not doing anything to help, get the fuck out of here.
Let's circle back. Well, first off, shout out to 3000 GT Atlanta with the $3 super chat. Says, we lead or we leave. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah, that was one of my live streams when I said there's only two options black men should have on the table when it comes to black women. Either we lead or we leave.
Yeah. What was I about to get? Oh yeah. So circling back to the main topic here. So you it sounded like earlier when we touched on it, you more or less reject the premise that black cops treat black people worse. That wasn't my experience, but a lot of black people said that, and it's been popularized in media. Shout out to Ice Cube and shout out to Boys in the Hood and all of that. But like, what would you say as far as cops just interactions with each other? Because it's hard to pinpoint the data on this. We can look up the data of actual shootings because there's an actual body. But as far as just day-to-day brutality,
and shootings, you got to look at it. There's sometimes a person doesn't need to be shot, and there's times when a person needs to be shot. This happens because we're in a country where only 0.5% actually protects it, being the military, firefighters, security, corrections, and police. A lot of people do not put themselves in a line of fire, so they don't have any concept of saying, oh, that person did this because no, you don't. I remember it was one of my wrestlers who I was coaching during the summer. He goes to another school. It was a teenager who went from his dip and turned around running from the cops and pulling a gun, and the cop shot him. Everybody was in an uproar till they seen the body cam footage of what happened. And it's like, oh, that's why you need to investigate. I like to go through investigations before I or at least see the footage before I give an opinion, personally or professionally. And I think a lot of times when people say, well, the black cops are worse, I don't see any difference because, look, there's a lot of black cops who not sympathize because that's just pitying you. I've looked at things where a lot of black cops tend to be more empathetic when it comes to black people. Yes, and just like any other black person, black people, like any other people, will get on your goddamn nerves. There's times when kids will be like, "Hey, what's your name, Officer Faulkner? Did you play any sports? Yeah, wrestling. Okay." And the kid ended up finding out he wrestled too, and he was like, "For real? Like, how were you?" I was all right. I got a bronze medal in Germany. He was like, "For real?" So, do you have assholes who happen to be black? Yes, but are they just singling out black people? No, because usually they're assholes to everybody.
Yeah.
But
so in your experience, black cops, they don't treat, not only do they not treat black people any different, they don't treat white people no different in your experience.
It's like you're supposed to treat everybody the same under the law, give them the best outcomes that you could get them. And I don't see it as, oh, we're going to treat black people. I mean, if you do have guys like that, I think they're scum of the earth. But I don't see that. I think more people are more relaxed when they see a black cop, like nowadays, like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, look, I did say that I did bring up the incident where a black female cop did approach my vehicle with her gun drawn, but I told the story. 3 other cars pulled up. 3 other cop cars pulled up. I was clearly driving the same car as the guy who was at large they were looking for. They found out it wasn't me. I mean, they found out I wasn't him, And then they say, okay, thank you, here's your stuff back. And then, but I go back to what I said before. I think cops should give an explanation after the fact. They just walked off. Like,
I
what the
think they
hell?
should. I think they should. It calms a lot of shit down. Little
Yeah.
shit like that
Because
calms down
depending
situations.
depending on my mentality, like I could take an experience like that and then just go off. Cops are awful. They out to kill us. They
Yeah.
approaching our cars with guns. You know, the guy who they found who's driving the same a caddy that I was driving. I mean, not be driving those suspicious
Uh,
cars anymore.
oh yeah,
But
I used to drive a caddy with blackout tents.
see, yeah, you was. Well, I mean, was you a cop back then?
Yeah, everybody thought it was a drug dealer car anyway.
Yeah, yeah. You was asking for it. You was asking for it. But anyway, but no. I mean, when you're confirming more or less what I've always thought. I've never thought that black cops treated black people worse, and I I'm willing to say that I mean, okay, people are naturally tribal. You
Yeah.
know, it manifests itself. We call it racism, but I think people are naturally tribal. It's natural, even though we try to program it in a lot in this country. We try to program
And
ourselves to not see race, to not see color. I
which
think people
is
can't help it.
bullshit.
Yeah, so
Because
I don't think people can help it. So yes, I do think a white cop dealing with a black person is more likely to be a little jumpy, a little on edge. Yeah, I do think.
especially when you got to look at it. I grew up in a city that's 70% black, roughly, probably blacker than that when I was younger. Um, went to a black school. Even the Christian and Catholic schools were predominantly black. I went to a black high school. It being around black people is nothing new to me. I mean, I've been around different cultures and everything. I went overseas to wrestle in Germany at 16. So I'm a pretty worldly man.
Yeah.
When you're getting here's the biggest problem I'll say with policing. You're getting a lot of clash because a lot of people are not experienced in other races, ethnicities, religions, and other things. In America, you can tend to be a little, how do you say, bubbled in. You're not you're pretty opaque when it comes to understanding other races and creeds, even black people. I'll hear it all the time. Black people want to talk about, their struggles, but when it comes to struggles of people who don't fit the typical quotation marks black person, or like black, you know, typical, stereotypical black shit, we get upset or we ostracize them. Like, even on my channel, we talk about being a multifaceted man or woman, where we could talk about science, we could talk about geopolitics, we could talk about comic books, we could talk about sports, we could talk about working out, we could talk about if you're having a bad day and how to talk you off the ledge.
Mm, yeah.
But the one thing I've noticed is that when we look at the American experience, we're very sheltered, even within our own country. A lot of people who happen to be black do not travel. Unfortunately, I think a lot of black men should travel and become a more worldly man, so your point of view and also your outlook and your inspirations will grow.
Hmm. No, absolutely, absolutely. A shout out to Jockey's Retro in the building. Says, has Officer Faulkner heard the stories about PG County police brutality? And before you respond to that one, shout out to Jockey's Retro again for becoming a channel member. Shout out to all of my members. I keep telling you I was going to be more. I mean, I did do some members only stuff, but it's going to be more members only content. So it'll behoove you to become a member. So shout out to Jockey's Retro stepping up, becoming a member. Appreciate all the channel members. And also, well, before I read Jonathan Barronville's question, shout out to JB. I want you
I
to.
noticed this. I wanted to say this. Somebody said, "Well, in these police departments, it's primarily white." No, Not in a lot of police. Not necessarily in the East Coast. Like Baltimore, we're about what 47 white, 44 black.
I'm shocked
Like
that it's that. I know in Detroit it's majority black. Atlanta is majority black.
yeah, and it's growing for the black population, and it's that's the reason why part of the Great Faulkner Initiative, we want young black boys to join the military, fire, and police, is because that police officer has a vested interest within the community because he's from it. But I find it to flip the question on the head. I find I get more disrespect from my own damn people than everybody else. Like fuck the police, nigga. Work. Wait till you work for them. Then you can say fuck the police. Fuck you. Shit. Do you get your days off canceled? No. Then shut the fuck up. We do. So we can say fuck the police more than you can. So I'm looking at it whereas though there's some people who don't like the police because it's popular not to like the police. There are some people who are followers. There are some people who might have had one bad experience, and that one bad experience changed their outlook for police forever. Even if they
Yeah.
had 100 good experiences, that one bad experience. You can't, just like if you have one black guy commit a crime, does that condemn all black men? No.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
have some people. You have some people who who only hate the police because their favorite uncle was locked up by the police, but they didn't realize. Like one of my best friends, he said I hated the police when I was younger, till I realized my uncle was fucking bringing more dope to Baltimore City than the motherfuckers. Was thinking to lock his dumb ass up. So it's sometimes when they come to a realization of what for, and I usually like to treat every incident as its own separate entity. Go ahead, Bernard.
Yeah, no, I heard a woman on these YouTube streets. She was on a panel saying, and my father was a victim of mass incarceration, and I was like, no, your daddy sold crack.
Yeah,
like,
that's
like,
that's that's kind of hard to swallow there. Kind of hard to swallow.
I'm sorry. Did you answer the question about the PG County?
I've heard a few things about PG County. It's a little, I've heard a few things about Pretty Girl County. That's what we call it in Maryland. Um, it's true. But I've heard a few incidents, but it's PG County though. It's predominantly black. It's a large black contingency there, man. I'm surprised about that. I've heard a couple of incidents down there, but nothing that makes national news.
Jonathan Barronville in the building says, my personal experience with black cops as a professional law-abiding citizen has been terrible. Okay, come up on the panel and tell us about all the really stern warnings they gave you. No, just playing. You ain't had no bad experiences, JB. They gave you a stern warning and it upset you. It ruined your day. I'm just messing with JB. Worse than white cops. I wish I could say differently, but it is what it is. See, a lot of people say that though. In all seriousness, a lot of people say the same thing that JB says, that black cops have been worse. That hasn't been my experience. So I think what it is that a lot of people. Sorry. A lot of people expect black cops to just treat them 100% well, and then when they get any experience with a black cop that's bad, it could turn into some type of confirmation bias type of thing where
Yeah.
they're noticing it's popping out more. But it's just I just haven't seen it. But again, that's a me personally argument. And
I mean,
these will forever and always be me personally arguments because it's hard to really get
there,
the pin
there's
down data
always
on it.
gonna there's always gonna be assholes, but at the same time, when you're brought up as American, you don't like anybody restricting your freedoms. If this was Russia,
Yeah.
people would be like, it's business as usual. So you got to look at it. there's also a lot of black people who feel that they can disrespect you because you're a black cop. Oh, but they'll talk to a white cop. Yes, sir. No, sir. How you doing, sir?
That could be what it is. The black people, yeah, people. I hate to say it. Maybe black people be getting out of pocket with the black cop because they thinking it's all good, and then he showed them that no, I'm an actual cop, and then they like, oh, are you treating me worse than the white folks? But I
And
think
I'm
that
like, I had a guy who was stealing out of a store, and he's like, man, can't you let me go? I'm like, no, man, you worse than the white guys. What the fuck?
well, do you? I mean, well, let me ask you this because okay, cops, like you said, you talked about chasing people down. Do you just say, look, just fuck it. I'm not about to exert all this energy chasing down somebody who committed some little petty crime. Yeah, it's my job to
Some
get them, but I ain't the hell with it. Do you ever just have that mentality? Because I'll
there's some
probably be a
there's
bad
some
cop.
there's some there's some people situations dictate where you try not to lock up every little black guy you see. Where I'm there was this one black kid, light skin, and I looked at him, took my glasses off, looked at him for 2 minutes. I mean, stared a fucking hole through his fucking soul. And I just asked him, give me one reason why I shouldn't arrest you. You have crack in your damn jacket. When you know you come into this facility, they're gonna search you. Well, I found it on the ground. Do you take drugs? No. What have you been locked up for? No, speak up. Selling drugs. So, was that your only time you've been caught selling drugs? No. So it's safe to say that you were probably gonna sell these motherfuckers, right? I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna submit it. Found property. If I see your ass doing anything else, I'm gonna charge you with this because I have a year to a day. And I have your paper. I have your number. I have your address. I have your ID. I even have the guy who takes care of you. If he calls me and say you're fucking up, I'm gonna be on your ass.
But do you think people actually learn in that situation? I think they don't. I think they
Some
just look
some
at it
people
like,
do. Some people do. Not
okay,
everybody, but some people do. Some people. I had a guy. It's amazing because it was actually New Year's Day, and people want to talk about. See, all of y'all probably recovering from hangovers, and I had to go in the snow, fucking wrestling with a motherfucker beating his girlfriend. So once again, you got to yoke a motherfucker up, arrest him because he's doing something violent. I'm downtown somewhere in July the same year, and the guy actually thanked me for arresting him because he said, "You know what, Officer Faulkner? I was drunk. I could have hurt her. I could have hurt my child. Thank you. I needed this to get myself. We getting married in September. Oh, congratulations." There's some people who learn. I mean, I have to treat everybody with dignity and to respect. So even if I got to whoop your ass, I'm still respectful about it. Even if I got to arrest you, I'm still respectful about it. Look, it's not personal, it's professional.
uh-huh. Theo in the building with a $25 super chat says, "Hello, officer. Please be nice to the black man with dogs in the park. He's trying his best." He's referring to when he was homeless sleeping in the park. He's just
Hmm.
don't want to be
I
bothered.
mean, we're pretty. I've seen officers buy homeless men food time and time again,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes we try to get. There's times we'll give them a lift to the shelter, but that's the shit you're never gonna see on the cameras.
Right.
Nobody's gonna see you. You can take a family of four, dad and mom on your shoulders, the kids in your arms, and you got the dog by the collar and the cat by your fingers. Nobody will ever see it. If people perceive that you did something wrong, oh,
Yeah.
automatically, oh, that cop there, oh, I knew they dirty. I'm like,
Mm.
the fuck?
Sir Tyson in the building with super chat. He says, "Whenever I hear F the police, especially from women, these are the same MFers that run/call the police for every little domestic
That is
disagreement."
actually true. That is actually very true. Matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, there was a protest in front of the Western District, I don't know if you could find it on social media. It was me and one of this Puerto Rican officer. And this girl, she thought it would be fashionably cute to take a sign next to the gate that says "fuck the police." But that same girl came to me and these other officers saying, "Oh, there's a fire down the street. Can you come help us?" I was like, God damn. I said, pick a struggle. Of, of course we do what we do, but you say fuck us, but then you expect us to help you to death. You sound like wayward children when you do that. Like, my God.
What's
Like,
the percentages? And again, this isn't any data. This is just your experience when you get calls in domestic situations, and it could be hard to sort out because men typically don't call the police. But how often is it just a flat out dude just beating the hell out of a woman versus her beating the hell out of him, mutual combat, or like what's your just what's your general thoughts on that on those domestic
see,
disputes?
see, I'm one of those realist people. I love black women, but they start some shit. They start some shit. Now, do you got some guys who are handsy? Yes. I will say 60-40. Actually, I might even go down to 30-70, where the women are starting the shit. Okay. A lot of times I used to go in there thinking, all these guys beating the hell out of these women. And you see this guy got scratches and shit, and he's holding her like, yo, stop hitting me. And next thing you know, he pushes her off or whatever. Oh, he hit me, he did this. And I'm like, and I noticed something. This chick isn't like a streaking violet. She's like ready for the smoke. She with the shits. And I'm like, you can't tell me that you were scared for your safety and you still try to fight this nigga. Like, something don't look right here.
Right, right. Coach Ali's corner in the building. He says, "Thank you for your service, Officer Faulkner. Everyone wants to be a critic of the police, but nobody wants to put on the uniform." Very
Thank
well
you.
said. Very
Thank
well
you
said.
for your support. That is very true. That's the reason why Cerulean and Graham myself had the Great Faulkner Initiative. Why not put the uniform? I think black people have been conditioned not to see one of us in a position of power.
Mm.
And I'm really starting to see that as the gist. Like, you just don't want to see another black man with authority. You say you want it, but when you see a nigga up there in a suit or uniform, if you see a guy in the military, how many times have other black men shook a police officer, a firefighter, a soldier, sailor, marine, or airman's hand and say thank you for your service? You'll see that typically more from white people.
Mm.
And think about it. What if it's a guy you actually like? How often do we cower from, we'd rather hang around a criminal than a person who's making us look good, which is funny.
Yeah. Freedman's Journal in the building says, "I was arrested once and the cop rode my motorcycle back to my house before booking me." That was cool.
That
Reflecting,
was,
I
that was
think,
pretty cool.
damn, that
That was
was
pretty cool.
yeah, absolutely. Number 16 in the building. I see you down there, JB. Bring you up in a second. Number 16 in the building says, "That is a bad take, Bernard. People can have their own experiences that do not invalidate others." Did I say? I don't recall saying that. That is called an an anecdotal experience. You know
Hey,
what? If
nobody's nobody's
the women in black
nobody's a,
YouTube, hold on, the women in black YouTube have messed that word up for me to where I forgot how to pronounce it because one of them used to always say antidotal, and then another one was saying antidotal. So when I saw anecdotal spelled out, I was my brain wasn't clicking, but yeah, anecdotal. Okay. Anyway,
I
but
don't
no, I
think
wasn't saying
anybody
that somebody's
downgraded the
experience
experience.
invalidates. Hold on, wait. Yeah, I just want to respond to what he said really quick. I wasn't saying that anybody's experience was invalidated. I was just simply saying that it's hard to quantify it in a measurable way. That's all I'm saying. You know, like JB about to come up. He's about to say his experience with black cops has been bad. Mine has been wonderful, and only had 2 incidents where only one of them I felt like the cop was just being a dick. But I mean, you know, and he happened to be white, so that's my experience. But
I've been around white cops who I had to tell, get the fuck off my scene. I've been around black cops who I had to tell, get the fuck off my. I've been with white cops who were some of the best cops I know. I've been with black cops who've been some of the best cops I know. I've been with female officers who were not shit. I've been with female officers who were the shit. Situation dictates.
Right. Oh wait, I just took another question I meant to ask you. When cops go, I was kind of joking around, but it's still a serious discussion. When cops are just talking about, you know, the water cooler conversation, you know, people have work related conversations. You may see, you know, people that work in the medical field, nurses or whatever, probably talking about how smelly the person in room 6 is or something like that. When cops are having their discussions, just talking about the job, do you notice, like, are there some cops who just so flippantly, nonchalantly talk about the times when they just had they had the belly to back suplex somebody, but they're talking about it from a perspective like they like doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know if that question makes any sense, but I get the feeling that there's some that just come to work and
I mean, there's some who may talk about it. Mostly we talking about the shit we gonna do when we get off. But
yeah.
Or we may talk about a game, we may talk about some cute chick number you got or whatever. I mean,
but you don't catch none of them at the job just talking, just seeming just too
rarely,
enthusiastic. You know, they're just sounding too
rarely hear about
enthusiastic
that.
about the time they had to beat somebody ass. You don't hear that.
You rarely hear about it because you're trying to think of other shit like, yo, we got to go over to my house for drinks. For real? Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
There are some people. It's funny because a lot of shit that I've been through are like stories of legend to some, where there's some people who like, did you really do that to that guy? I was like, yes. And they're like, oh, okay, I get it. And I think it shocks people because they rarely see it. Like, damn, you really had to fuck that guy up. Yeah. If he would have just put his arms behind his back, we would have had to go through that shit. But we don't. I mean, it's very rare you have guys saying, yeah, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna do this. You might have guys be like, you know what, I'm gonna try to get, you know, I've been doing this surveillance and I've been watching these 2 guys serve drugs and I'm gonna get them off the street because, some of the citizens complained about them and they bring a lot of criminal element. But you don't have guys trying to brag about doing that. If it happens, it happens. You might tell the story. It's not like, hey, we're gonna promote you, or hey, attaboy. It's shit that happens. What's up, Leon? That's Leon right there, Mr. Chameleon. We went to school together.
Okay, shout out to him. I just highlighted his comment because he is thanking you for your service.
Well, thank you for your service as a correctional officer for many years.
Right on. Oh yeah, one last question. I never. They always say the police officer has a really stressful job, and it seems understandable. But then again, I have my stereotypes of police officers sitting in the speed trap, sleeping for 6 hours, and then wake up, stretch. Okay, let me write a few tickets.
But you gotta think. That's when you're talking about speed traps, you're thinking more of state police than municipality.
Yeah. But is the job as stressful as they say it is? Like, what would you say to that?
Depends on the day. Some days you have an easy, like Sunday morning, and some days you're fucking done. I mean, when I started the job, I had jet black hair, so people be like, it can't be that stressful. Shit. Wait till you have to deal with in one day. You have to deal with an armed robbery. You have to deal with a shooting. 3 people shot, 1 dead. Wait till you have to deal with that, and that's just one day. And you're not going home. And that day was a 20-hour day. So when people talk about stressful, oh, it could get stressful. There are some days when it's like, God, I do this for a living. Man, I'm making good money. I ain't got to do shit today.
Yeah.
Then there's other days you're like, fuck this place.
Yeah, that was
like,
kind of
yeah.
how I envisioned it. It's like days of, man, I ain't doing nothing. I'm just chilling, and then it just go from 0 to 100 real fast, and then probably drop back down to 0, then back up to 100. But then there are those days where, like you said, the whole damn 12-hour shift was on 100. You have those
There are
days.
some days you have it like that because you're like,
Yeah.
fuck, I got an early robbery or a burglary or some crazy shit just occurred, and a lot of people don't understand it. It's one of those times you go through the ring, you go through the ringer. Like, I remember I was the only officer in my sector because all the other officers' vehicles were trapped in between the fire engines. So I had to handle a 3 to 4 mile radius. If anybody's from Baltimore, just to let you know, Sector 2 starts from 33rd Street to Panera Bread on the county line by Walker Avenue. From the Alameda and Argonne all the way up to Rolling Road. That's a big, big square mileage. And for 2.5 to 3 hours, I was the only cop in my sector. And I had to handle a lot of shit. So some days are better than others. It's like you've been on the job long enough, you know that.
Mm-hmm. All right. We are joined by JB, Jonathan Barronville, who I'll just pass you the mic. You can pick it up wherever you want. I know you did super chat about your bad experience with black cops. So you got the floor, you got the mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you good.
All right. What's up, Officer Faulkner?
Woo! What's up?
Not much, brother. Good to see you here. So I did want to address something first, Bernard. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the quota thing, right? So I heard what Officer Faulkner said, and I think we could probably agree that it is illegal in most places, as far as I know. But I think that goes beside the question: does it happen? And I think that's really what matters at the end of the day. Is practically speaking, does it happen? Not whether or not it's illegal. And I actually posted a few links in the chat as the conversation was going on of just instances even in Georgia where there's been enough evidence to show that they essentially have a quota. They're just not calling it that, right? And they're being very careful about how they do it so that it's not obvious that they're doing it. But it still happens, and that's the issue.
Well, hey, hold on. What are they calling it? Oh, go ahead, Officer.
You can have a traffic initiative, but like I said before, if let's say you put me on a traffic initiative to do car stops, which is legal, if I don't see anybody who has a violation, I'm not going to come in there saying I'm going to make something up. There's nothing there. They were like, so you've been out there?
But I'm saying, but I'm saying I'm saying there's been proof that cops are doing that. Now you're not doing that, and I think that's
some
good.
cops may say I'm going to try to get 5-6 tickets. That's on their discretion. But when it comes to a quota, now if it's a what's the word I'm looking for? If it's a self-initiated thing, like I'm gonna go out there and get a drug lockup, I'm gonna go out there and get 5 tickets or whatever, you'll get that. But
no, I'm saying so for example, the links I posted in both of those instances, it was the police chiefs basically starting initiatives that essentially were quotas, just not by name. Like basically they were not calling it that.
You can basically have initiatives. That's not illegal. But if you turn up one day 5 tickets and the next day 0, nobody can say, why didn't you get these tickets? Why don't you give me 5 tickets? I can't, because there was nobody to ticket. There was no violation. So
I get that part. I get that part, Officer Faulkner. Right? I completely get that part. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I'm saying, so for example, the Douglasville example, right? The police chief was offering like barbecue or something like that for the officers to essentially write more tickets. Right. That's literally what he was offering. And he was even caught on camera. There's like a video of him literally saying this. Right. So
wait, hold
in
on, wait.
Douglas,
It's one curious question. What exactly does he gain by getting more tickets? Like, does the state get more money and then he get a blue ribbon or something? Like, what's the motivation?
It was described in the article. I'll be honest with you, I don't remember off the top, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just the issue is that.
Where's the article? Where's the article?
I shared it in the chat. I can share it again in a second because I'm on the stream. I'm on mobile, so I'm on the StreamYard, so I can't share the comment right now. But I'll do it again in a second. But unless somebody else had clicked on it already and saved it, and they could reshare it. But anyway, I just wanted to point out that while I agree with you that it is illegal in most places, I think what people are concerned about when they talk about quotas is not whether or not it's illegal, it's whether or not it's still happening, right? It's whether or not people are being, and one quick thing. Just one quick thing, like for example, anecdotally, again, I don't have any proof of this. I'll say this up front, right? But anecdotally, I remember when I moved to Atlanta, at one point I lived in the Virginia Highlands area, right? And what was always interesting to me was there was a very specific time of the month where there was always increased police activity in the area, and it's pretty much the same area every day, right? But it was, and pretty much all the residents knew. Like in Virginia Highlands, all the residents knew that this was some kind of quota system. It was pretty known by everybody in there. It's just no one would. There was no way for you to really say that it is because it's just you just see more cops, right? But it was always increased police activity at a very specific point in time in the month in the Virginia Highlands area, right? So, that's what people are concerned about is essentially it's happening. It's just they're not calling it that.
It's also you could have police increased activity because there's certain times of the day, like for example, they went through all the data during the crime stats and noticed that they have more the worst day of the week is Thursday, which is funny. Like why Thursday? So you're gonna have more increased activity till you can actually pinpoint why is there more violence on Thursday than any other day. Sometimes it's because you had some crime going down. Like you would have initiatives to do car stops in the area. You would have initiatives to do, foot patrol because you have a high crime area, especially if you had a robbery, shooting, or murder or homicide. So depends on what's going on. There are some initiatives to catch some guys who are committing some heinous crimes. Like, look, let's see what we could get this guy on and let's see if we could question him. Are some things going to stick? No. But there has to be something taken because when you got to answer to the citizens and the mayor and the city council, there's some action that has to be taken. You can't just say, you know what? We're not gonna do car stops. Now, if you're doing car stops for the sake of trying to look good, that's fucked up.
Okay, well, I'll leave that one alone. I'm just pointing that out. I actually, to be honest, I disagree with you on that point. Just because I get where you're coming from, but I disagree on the fact that people are seeing it happen. In this case, the example I took, this is a nice area. It's not like there was increased crime or anything. It was just the police were just more out there. And this is something that if you went to that area and you discussed it with the residents, because we would talk about this, and pretty much everybody had an understanding of what was going on, right? So, but anyway, this is not a hill I'm gonna die on. I'm not going down that hill. So,
does everybody get a ticket? Do everybody get tickets, or they just get stopped?
Listen, I'm not even going down this hill, right? I was just pointing that out. What I really wanted to touch on is the experiences with black cops, because that's what the topic is, right? So. First of all, I want to make it clear, right? Like for me, I was never raised to just, immediately dislike cops or anything like that. In fact, what initially triggered me to like my first actual experience with a cop that was bad, is what actually basically is where that started for me. So this was in Mattapan, Massachusetts. For anybody who's familiar with the Boston area, I was a kid. And I was coming from school, and I was on Blue Hill Avenue, walking up Blue Hill Avenue, and there was a brother, older dude, obviously. I mean, I was a kid, and I remember I said something to him like, like, "What's up, bro?" or something like that. I was just trying to say hi to him as a kid, And he looked back at me as a damn kid. He's a grown man. He looked back at me and he told me, I'm not your brother. Right. And for me, I think starting from that point, even though it's something as small as that, as a kid, I was looking at him like, damn, like, why did he react like that? I'm just saying hi. That's how I looked at it. And I remember I talked to my mom about it, and my mom didn't understand because she wasn't there. But I think for me, a lot of like my feelings about cops, it didn't come from the media telling me anything or from me looking at police shootings or anything like that. It's just been the shitty experiences that I've had with them myself. Now to take more real examples, right? More real examples. When I was around 20, I think 20 years old, I think I was 20. I was in Dorchester, Massachusetts. And I was on Dorchester Ave, actually, right where Dorchester Ave connects with Florida Street, I believe. And this Boston police officer, I was coming from work, right? I'm coming from work, and it was late night, like probably like 12 o'clock, like 12 o'clock, maybe 12:30. I'm walking up, and I lived in the Dorchester area, and I see these police lights basically pulling up behind me. I had my headphones on, so I didn't really know what was going on. I turn around, and it turns out like it's almost like the guy was like pulling up slowly behind me. So I pull my headphones off, and it turns out that he was telling me to stop. He was telling me to stop, like stop walking. I didn't do anything. I'm just coming from the train station going home, and he's telling me to stop. So I take my headphones off, and I'm like, stop for what? I asked him, what's going on, and he gets out of his car. This was a white cop, but here's what pissed me off: his partner sitting on the other side is a black cop, and he actually stayed in the car the entire time. He stayed in the car the entire time, and this white cop gets out the car and basically tells me that he asked me where am I going. I said I'm going home. I live right up the street. I told him exactly where I live. I told him I'm coming from work, right? And he tells me, take off your bag. I have a backpack on. He tells me, take off your backpack. And I'm like, why? I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. He takes my backpack. He unzips it, drops all of my stuff on the floor, damaged my laptop, I'm a software developer, right? So he damaged my laptop, damaged all my stuff, drops all my stuff on the floor. He handcuffs me, puts me on the sidewalk. All right. For those who know Boston, Dorchester Ave is a main street. So you see cars passing by, and they're looking at me sitting on the sidewalk with handcuffs on like a criminal. I'm coming from work. I didn't commit any crimes. And the entire time, I'm still trying to figure out why is he doing this to me. He still hasn't told me why he stopped me. Okay. And then I keep asking him, I'm like, what's going on, sir? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Meanwhile, the black dude is sitting right there in that car, listening to me, just asking, why are you doing this to me? Right. And then finally, when he's leaving, he leaves all my stuff on the floor. Right. He leaves all my stuff on the floor. He removes the handcuff. And I'm like, officer, you're not going to tell me why you did all this? And he said, oh, you just matched the description. And that to me was just like, what the fuck? Like, you just did all this to me. And all your only response is I matched the description. And then you drive away like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. Like that should not be able to happen. Stuff like that should not be able to happen. So when I hear these conversations, it's like, it's very one-sided because yes, there are folks out there who just, have something against the cops, but they're legitimate people who are not, I'm not committing a crime. I didn't do anything to this. Even if I match the description, you could have said that up front. You could have told me, you sat me on the side of a sidewalk on a main street, cars passing by looking at me like a criminal when I'm coming from work. I'm tired. I'm coming from work. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing the right thing. Right. And everybody passing by looking at me like I'm like I'm these dope dealers they be stopping and whatnot. And it's like he just wanted to search me. And on top of that, he calls me damaged. He literally damaged my stuff. He damaged my laptop. He damaged my stuff. And that's the thing. It's like those experiences when you have enough of them, right? That's what for me drove me. It's not the media. It's not anybody telling me cops are bad. It's my own experiences with them. My very own experiences with them stopping me, and like
hold on, wait, I'm back. Like, how many experiences like that would you say you had?
I've had a number of those, Bernard. Like whether it's in Boston, most of them have been in Boston, and then when I moved to Cambridge, Massachusetts, most of them have been in Massachusetts basically. But then even when I moved to Georgia, I've had a few of them in Georgia, and they haven't been good either. Now I will say this.
All right,
well, so you never had any good experience with black cops.
That's actually what I was just about to say. I will say this. one of the most professional experiences I've ever had with somebody, period, actually, was with a black cop. And that was actually with a Georgia State Patrol officer. It was after
Yeah,
an accident.
you ever notice that, like I said earlier, right? People remember the assholes. They
I
don't put
was
out the hold
no,
on, hold on.
Charles, I was just
But,
about to just hear me out.
but hold up,
I was about to
but
say
hold
it.
up, hold up. I'm just gonna say this, and you're gonna have the floor. People always remember the bad times over the good. Like, and I've said that earlier, right, Bernard?
Yeah.
People
Yeah,
remember.
but here's the thing.
I've been pulled over at gunpoint by officers while I've been an officer twice.
But here's the thing.
Mm.
Here's the thing,
And
Charles. Here's the thing,
let me,
right?
but hold up. Let me finish. Let me finish for a
All right,
second.
go ahead,
This
go
only
ahead.
takes.
Go ahead, my fault. Go ahead.
It's like this. I don't take anybody's experiences lightly, but I also look at it. Okay, you're gonna have assholes regardless of race. You're gonna have people who don't care. People get jaded at a job. How many times have we went to McDonald's and people just nasty attitudes at the register? How many times have we seen it with police? How many times we seen it with the goddamn fire department? And I've noticed that a lot of times when you have bad experiences, during this time, did you make a complaint against that officer?
Sorry, what'd you say?
Did you make a complaint against the officer?
Yeah, but it never went anywhere.
So what did they tell you?
They didn't even, honestly, when I went to the police department to even try to, they made that difficult. That process to even figure out how to file a complaint was difficult. And then I never heard back from anybody, which is
Because
typically how it
they're
goes.
supposed to
And
they're
that's the
supposed
other
to
thing.
investigate that shit.
But
Because
that's the
now
other thing is like even when you do it, that's the same experience I had with Cambridge police. It's like even when we file the complaint, it's like nothing comes out of it. They do nothing. They do nothing. You never hear back from them. And they make the process to file the complaint. They treat you like you're a terrorist. Like when you walk up and they're trying to figure out how to file a complaint, they treat you like you're a goddamn terrorist for just trying to do something that you're supposed that is your right, as far as I understand. Right? They make it so difficult, at least in my experience. Right? They make it so difficult.
How old are you again?
I'm 27.
27. All right. So there's many different times in life you're gonna have some real fucked up situations. People say, well, black cops are not your friends. I've seen infantry, whatever his name is, in there say that. A lot of times I've seen black cops look out for people where they talking to young people. Either get, and even I've done it. I know what you're doing. Get off the block, or I'm gonna arrest you. Don't come back. Nobody, nobody. It's like I said. I'm not shitting on people's bad experience, but you also start to notice that nobody talks about the good ones, like they do not
Charles,
exist.
Charles, you never let me finish that point. What I was about
But
to
go
say
ahead.
is that what I was about to say is that at the end of the day, it is sad for me that like of all the experiences that I've had, first of all, I don't believe I should have had all these experiences with cops in the first place because I didn't commit crimes. You know what I'm saying? But that's another topic, right? But of all these experiences, I've literally only had one, right? One interaction with a cop where it was actually positive, and that one actually turned out to be one of the most professional experiences I've had with anybody. Period, in my experience. And it was a George. So I was about to point that out because I do think it's important to point that out. And it was a brother. He was this a bald black dude. I think they probably have all of them bald at the Georgia State Patrol. But he was very professional with the whole experience. It was after an accident that I got into. He was very professional. He made sure everything was handled. He made sure all my questions were answered. All of that, right? So I really appreciated that interaction with him. But of all the experiences, if that's for me, it's not that I forget the good. It's like that's the only good. That's the point I'm making is that for me, that's the only good. And shout out to that officer. I wish I remembered his name because I'll shout him out. But shout out to him because that was to me that made my day, like that day, because it was like, damn, I'm glad I at least have one now that I can say was a good one, right? But it's like when you go through all these experiences with him, I'm just like, damn, like why am I being treated like a criminal? Like I'm not. I haven't
So
committed a crime.
were all the experiences about black cops or just white ones?
No. Then no, not all of them were black cops. I was just saying that when I look at the ones where they were with black cops, or where it was a black cop and a white cop, in my experience, the black cops is almost like it's almost like they're trying to show out. That's what I've seen. And
What
I'm
did the
not saying that's what it is from the
what did the
data or
black
anything
cop
like that.
what did the black cop do?
No, I'm saying they'll go overboard, like in terms of how they talk to you, how they disrespect you, how they like how just
Just
how they
like
get
you,
physical with you.
just like you talked about the guy who said, "I'm not your brother."
Mhm.
A lot of those, was he an older guy? He could be jaded as fuck. If you would have talked to a younger one or a nicer guy, would that have changed your opinion?
Probably. When I pointed that out, I was pointing that out to show you, like, for me, that started at a young age where
I'm
I'm
saying
just trying to think of the psychology of it, right? Where it's like,
you gotta look at it. A lot of these people get jaded because they see the rigmarole every day. Like most little kids, when I see them, they be like, "Hi, officer," or in Baltimore, "Hi, police. How you doing? My name's such and such. My name's Officer Faulkner. How you doing? What you about to do? Probably get something to eat." I've even had people tell their kids while I'm in uniform, "If you're not being good, they're gonna lock you up." I'm like, don't tell them that. I said, first and foremost, you need to stop that because that's ignorant and you're a parent. You should never scare your kids saying that they're gonna be locked up by the police if they do something that kids normally do. I'm like, then you got to pick up the kid and you're like, "Hey, what's up?" There's many a times you have to be hard charging because of the situation. Now to say I'm not your brother or whatever that because he's an old bastard, he's an old jaded bastard, let that be on him. Because if it was a guy who was black, same age, same amount of time or whatever, could have been nice. Situations dictate. And I look at it whereas though there's times I had a person say that I'm racist because I stopped them. I stopped their car because you had 5 people in the car, nobody wearing a seatbelt. Oh, he's being racist. No, it's a safety violation, you dumbass. So,
All right.
no, I
Freeman's
can
Journal in the
agree with that.
building. Freeman's Journal in the building says truth. Black men hate following black men / black men in power. Look at the Manosphere meetup beef. Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? When they would not question a white man at all. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate. God damn it. Thank you for the
that's
super
very
chat.
true.
Hold up.
That's
All right. And thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. And Debo W kind of piggybacks on that, but before I get into that, shout out to D Rock Den, sent his customary $5 cash app that he sends pretty much every day. Shout out to him. And also shout out to my man KD. I believe that was KD. Let me not tell a lie on somebody. So I want to pull it up on my phone. Sent a $40 cash app. Shout out to KD. Sent a $40 cash app. Definitely appreciate that, brothers. Always support and definitely appreciate it. Debo W says, why do black men who are cops think that cop power is real power? That's why it not so look at highly in black community. Go ahead, Officer Faulkner. You can have that one.
okay. We're gonna go back to some adult classes while we're at it, but um, it is power. And see, the reason why black people are not used to that is because you're used to only white people having power. You're not even used to black people having power. This is the problem. You're in a goddamn matriarchy. You're in a goddamn gynocracy, to be even more exact. You're so used to women telling you what to do that when a black man tells you what to do, you get upset with it. So when that person says, "I can take away your freedom and I can take away your your life if it came down to it," that's power. Now, like Uncle Ben said to Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. You can't say, "I want power," and put yourself in positions where there isn't any. Like, really, let's really think about it. What power does a black man really have in his own goddamn community? On on note. On note. One of the reasons why Cerulean and myself came up with the Great Faulkner position initiative is to get black men in positions of power. If you have more black men at the helm, you're going to have other brothers making sure that you don't have bad experiences that aren't needed. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to prevent things that could have been prevented. For example, if you have an officer who's fair to people, but he has to lock your cousin up, they were like, there's many of people who said, yo, stop giving that officer trouble. He's fair. I had people trying to disrespect me, and one of the OGs said, look, he's one of the fair ones, and he will fight you and put you in the hospital. Stop being disrespectful. Because we have a tendency to disrespect black men in our community very openly. But go ahead.
Oh, and Lionel Celeste Ether Bag. Shout out to you. He says a few good don't erase or excuse the bad experience.
You know, that's what white people said about blacks, huh?
I mean, in general, see, that whole statement, you say a few good don't erase the bad experiences. It's about understanding that with human beings, there's going to be a percentage of bad. You should want to reduce that percentage as much as possible, but you know that it's going to be there. You know, statistically, some people are going to have some bad situations with cops. Like, for example, like when I brought up the chick, the female cop who approached my car, you know, tiptoeing with her gun out. Like that was a bad experience to where if I wasn't the calm, laid back guy that I am, and I would have reacted some type of way, clearly she's looking for somebody that was driving the car, same car that I drove. That's what I figured out. If I would have reacted or jumped or been startled or just you know how some niggas what you got? I'm not even going to do an impression of how some black folks act in a situation like that. But I could have prompted her to, you know, to think that, okay, this must be the guy the way he acting. So yeah, I could have very well got shot. It's possible. You want that to not happen, but statistically, it's going to happen from time to time. But I don't have a mentality that look at the cops out to get me. I mean, that was
matter of fact. I have to ask you to I have to ask you to highlight this person's comment. What's his name?
Well, shout out to Lionel. Thank you for the super chat. Let me go find who you're
what's his name?
Looking for. Well, say the name.
Debo W. When he's like, I know your type. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Okay. All right. Before the billions, I saw you ask for the link. There it is.
It's probably up because
shout out to
you
Before
don't know.
The Billions.
I'm this brainless type. Anybody whose panel I've been on or who came to my channel know that I'm far from brainless. As a matter of fact, I get tired of, you know, brainless motherfuckers not coming up with better answers except self-hate. Yes, your power does not. Actually, if you really want to talk about it, your power is not your badge, because your power comes from actually the training commission that it's issued. Without that card, that badge means nothing. It actually comes from the citizens who grant you the power over them. The same way the president takes an oath, the same way your mayor takes an oath, the same way your governor takes an oath, we have to take oaths as well. So dismiss me with your cognitive dissonance, dismiss me with your basically nihilist disposition, dismiss
Wait a minute,
with your
you
bullshit.
wouldn't listen to this thing. You wouldn't be invited to the cookout by the women in my family? It's so much wrong on that statement.
Like I don't give. Matter of fact, the women in your family be trying to sleep with me, so I don't get.
Why are the women? Hold on. Why are the women in your family the gatekeepers of who comes to the cookout or not?
Because he's
that's what I want to know.
But that's exactly what I talked. Did I not say that? That's why you're woman led. That's why you got an issue. See, at least my brother told his story and came up on the panel like a man. God damn, stop with this idiocy for 5 seconds, man. Well, the women wouldn't invite you to the cookout. I don't give a fuck. I grill my damn self.
Like if
no chicken for you, Charles. No chicken for you, man.
No chicken for me.
If he just would have
Just
said,
keep the ribs, as long as I get some ribs.
if he just would have said we wouldn't invite you to the cookout, then we could have did. Then we could
Now,
examine.
to be quite honest, even on duty, I'm invited to everybody's cookouts. What the hell? They were like, "Yo, awesome, we got the plate for you." Oh,
But
thanks,
we
man.
can't even get past the women part of the sentence to examine the fact that he looks at. Hold on, real quick. He's looking at every black cop as some I don't know, just some anti-black person with the establishment, with the system. It's like that's just ignorant. I'm sorry. Shout out to Debo W. He's a channel member. Shout out to you. No disrespect, but that's ignorant nigga logic. That we live in this country, we citizens of this country, the systems in this country that our tax dollars pay for and fund. Yes, we should be participating and taking over as many of those systems as possible. I talked about how in Detroit and Atlanta it's a majority black police force, and a lot of times the police chief is black. A lot of times the people in the local government are black. Yes, we should be running our shit. Like that's how it works. Like,
so
what are you talking about?
Bernard, I disagree with Debo's statement there, but I think your view is a one-sided view. I have to be honest with you. I think it's a one-sided view. Okay, so I disagree with that view, right? And I think, let me start with this. I think if there's one thing that becoming conservative has done for me is that it's made me confront my ideas on stuff like this, right? Because prior to this, I'll be completely straight up about it. Like I used to straight up just hate cops, and I'm actually using the term hate here appropriately. Like I used to straight up hate cops.
Explain why my view is one-sided.
I know I'm getting to that, right?
Okay.
But
I thought you were pontificating off somewhere.
No. This context is important, right? So I used to straight up hate cops, right? And the reason I hated them was not because of the community or the media or anything. It's because of my own experiences. So I think now, as a conservative, I went, especially, and then also as somebody who's data driven. When I look at the data and I say, okay, well, the data is showing something that's a bit different. Not a bit. I mean, pretty significantly different from my personal experiences. So I have to look at the data and say, okay, well, my experiences just don't really match the data. That's one. But two, I one of the things I've been doing now intentionally is, before I used to just avoid cops altogether. So like if I see a cop on one side of the street, I will go on the other side, right? And part of when I say your view is one-sided is because when I see a comment like that, I know where it's coming from. I can feel where it's coming from because I was there myself, right? And I part of what I do now is I actually force myself to. I've been trying my best to have good interactions with the police. Let me put it like that. Like rather than avoid them, I try to see, okay, let's say I'm at a store and I can buy their groceries for them or something. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to figure out ways to maybe create positive interactions that and maybe change my perception. But when I see that view, I don't immediately view it as ignorant the way you put it, because I view that as somebody who's probably had a lot of experiences like I did. Where
sometimes it can be ignorant.
Wait a minute, JB, but I think that's still ignorant. I think it's still ignorant.
No, I think the cookout comment is ignorant, but the overall view that I see from Debo is somebody who has some kind of deep, bad experiences with police. That's what I see.
I know that's the ignorant part.
Why
Debo having bad experience with the police, thus taking that illogical step to think that any black police officer represents that bad experience or is a part of that bad experience or is contributing to that bad experience.
Bernard, we're not robots.
We're not robots. I understand that we're not robots, but we do have to take a step back and be as logical as possible.
Listen, Bernard.
If I hear Officer Faulkner saying that he does his job as a cop, if somebody is doing something absolutely wrong and he has to do what he has to do, he does what he has to do. But in general, he try to be fair and try to do right by people. And in instances, he's even giving people multiple chances. And he's a firm believer that black boys should be raised up to join the police force and the military so we can be, patrolling our own neighborhoods and running our own stuff. Like, so somebody with that mindset,
I don't
somebody, hold on, but wait a minute. But see, Debo is not looking at cops in general and saying that, I feel bad about cops in general. He's listening to Charles Faulkner saying all the right things and then saying, nah, man, you just one of them. It's like that's ignorant
Yes,
number
and
one.
sorry, this is the disconnect, right? The disconnect I'm trying to explain to you is that the reason why for me I can listen to Charles and listen to him and actually believe what he's saying is because I'm looking at it from a different perspective now. But when I do hear what Debo's saying, I can see the viewpoint that he's saying. The viewpoint he's coming from is where if I don't know this person's experience, first of all, but it seems to me just from reading their
But
comment
that's the
that
but
it
that's
seems.
but you could but I'm gonna say this.
Well, let me just finish this
Notice
point. Let
notice
me just
how
finish this point.
notice how nobody ever says I can see Officer Faulkner's point. But when Officer Faulkner goes out there, people will be like, that's not true. And I'm like, that's how it works. I've always noticed if Dr. Dunbar comes up here, nobody's going to question Dr. Dunbar and his expertise in pharmacology. If Green Gorilla comes up here, nobody's going to question his PhD in philosophy. But when it comes to law enforcement and law enforcement practices, we seem to have this one-sided view.
Charles,
When
what's good, man?
I understand that, hey, what's up? I understand that people may have their issues with police. Like I've said, I've been pulled over. There's people who have complaints about the police, and I've been pulled over by gunpoint twice. And I'm like, that's fucked up. But nobody wants to ever say, well, damn, that was fucked up. Most people are gonna be like, but you would have been okay. If I'd have reached for my gun, what the fuck do you think would have happened to me? And I'm like, hey, what the fuck's going on? Like, oh, yes, unfortunately, we were in a green Jaguar. And guess what they were looking for? A green Jaguar. They fouled it. They had to do what they had to do. So I had to go check up and see, okay, let's see if these motherfuckers were actually following a green Jaguar. And lo and behold, it was a green Jaguar who was involved in a shooting.
Yeah, and I had my situation was similar. I found out later on the news that somebody who did all kind of ill stuff was riding a brown Cadillac DTS or whatever. He's driving the same car.
Yeah, and not make an excuse for the female officer who I think should have explained. A lot of times things happen very quickly. And when things happen very quickly, you may forget, like, okay, this might be a nasty situation, so my gun will be out. If it's a felony car stop, yeah, fuck your feelings, my gun will be out. We can talk about this later. If you feel it a certain way, that's on you. But my gun will be out.
Right.
And
right. No, only thing I would have liked is an explanation after the fact.
I think
and even when I asked her, she gave me nothing. That was a problem.
Even after that, she should have. But there's times I explained shit to people and they didn't even want to hear it. And I'm like, why not?
True. That's true. All right, real quick. Number 16 says, we get it. He used to be a flag burning anarchist, demon leftist. No, he was what was it? A social? No, not a socialist.
I've never burned a flag, and
what were you? What were you?
I've never burned a flag, and I've never subscribed to anarchy. So
no. I'm asking what I forgot what you were. You were a
I was a socialist, a Marxist Leninist.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I forgot the exact name of what you used to be. But all right, shout out to number 16. Mr. in the building says, woo, just a question on self-defense. In your experience dealing with violent, unruly people, is it necessary to learn boxing if you already a decent grappler? Answer that one quickly, Officer Faulkner. I do want to rotate it to Chaos Reign and Portability.
Yes. You should always have equally good blocked holds and takedowns and equally good blocking, striking, and counters.
Yeah,
to me, I think, and the short answer to that, I believe that basic boxing, basic ground fighting, basic wrestling is what should be taught to police around the nation. It would probably cut down on a lot of deadly force situations. Well, violence is violence, whether it's a gun or anything. So, but I think it would give you more options. And let's say if the guy's grabbing a gun, you don't want to pull your gun out while he's grabbing it, so it gives you more options and more of an arsenal.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm no expert on that, but I've heard a lot of people say that you should know at least 2 or 3 martial arts. That way you got, full scope. But shout out to Tank Johnson real quick. He says, respect to Officer Faulkner and the many black officers who took the oath. Great show, Bernard.
What's
Thank
up,
you,
Tank?
Tank Johnson. Appreciate you.
Hey,
Appreciate
hey
you. All
Bernard,
right,
can I make my final point and I'll just hop off because I gotta go to a meeting soon.
All right, really quick, because Chaos and before the billion has been waiting a minute, but go ahead.
My bad, Chaos. I'll be quick. So first of all, I just wanted to say this. Like I said, I know I used to hate cops, and I said that very clearly. I'm not. I don't need to lie about that. But I don't anymore, right? I don't anymore because I don't think it's productive to hate them. And also, I actually would like to see more positive interactions. Ideally, I'd rather not have interactions with police. But if I do, I want them to be positive, right? So, I think the only thing I wanted to make clear here is that, at the end of the day, people are not robots, right? And so when you look at it, like even though it's better to look at it from the data-driven standpoint, where you're like, okay, even if I've had these personal experiences, the data itself doesn't really match that. Overwhelmingly, these cops aren't like just these monsters that are going around shooting people, right? That's not the case. I mean, the data doesn't show that. So I understand that viewpoint, and that's the viewpoint I have now, despite my experiences. But we can't expect everybody to just be able to be these robots, because it is quite a robotic view, right? Especially if you've had bad experiences. To just basically look at things purely from the data's perspective, especially in those instances where we talk about physical experiences, and then completely dismiss you like it, and use
I don't even. I hear you, but I don't even think it was his personal experiences. It was just
Trolling.
I don't even want to.
Trolling. It was pretty much trolling. It was pretty much trolling.
This is removed from Debo at this point. I'm just making a general point at this point. All right, forget what Debo said. I'm just making a general point.
Okay, understood.
But anyway, shout out to Officer Faulkner. Appreciate your perspective on this, brother. Thank you.
Just come by my channel. We can talk about it more.
Yes, right. And shout out to RM. I know she's been dropping the link to Officer Faulkner's channel. Moderators, remember to periodically spam out the link to Officer Faulkner's channel. I think y'all been doing it. So make sure that y'all continue to do that. Go over there and sub. All right, Chaos Rain, you got the floor. You got the mic.
All right, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah,
man. Like Charles Faulkner was saying before, that's why the Great Fault Initiative was designed for. The purpose only is to really get black men in these institutions. And the challenge in doing so is that fear. Every black person, I don't care where you are in every state in America, has encountered law enforcement that does not look like you. So by default, on the average, you're going to feel some form of oppression and abuse. Even now that they came up with some new law.
You're going to feel it or you're going to experience it. What do you mean?
Either or, feel or experience, because when the lights turn on, Bernard, you know how these people react. Their heart starts beating. They start feeling nervous on the average.
I mean, those are two completely different things, whether or not you're feeling some type of, what did you say, oppression and abuse, whether you feel like that's going to happen, you feeling it, or whether or not it's actually happening. Those are two different things that I wouldn't lump together.
The reason why
that's part of that's part of the problem with a lot of the way that we analyze these things all the time. It goes back to, I hate to bring up Debo W, fellow channel member, shout out to him. But I think his feeling that the country is evil and out to get us, the cops are evil and out to get us, and anybody who's being a cop is working as a part of that system that's hurting us. You can't. That's feeling based logic. I'm sorry, and so it shouldn't be lumped in with actual with actual brutality. But I mean, you're building towards a point. So go ahead. I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't.
Thanks for throwing it out there, because when I say this, it goes back to logic, and you know how we are as people right now. The logic, I ain't going into that, but like I said, the experience and what they either have experienced or whatever you want to call it, it's there. That's why you see when someone like Officer Charles Faulkner comes on a panel, it goes back to that certain either trauma they experience or whatever, because the reputation of law enforcement in America for black men is never good. But I say personally that you're going to have to overcome your fear, and you need to as fast as possible, because and when Charles come back up, he probably might notice they put in some even new laws from what I'm hearing now about now they could beat your butt and you can't do much, nothing for certain situations. Hear me when I said certain situations now.
What are you talking about?
There's some floating around now that I think, I don't know if it was Mr. Sperling or somebody put out something that there's some new law where if they beat you up, like for whatever reason, or if you're doing something wrong or whatever, you can't go and sue them or anything. You get me? Because they have the alleged right that was put in. I gotta find it. It was some posted. I didn't really look into it, but I saw it floating around lately.
So it sounds like a situation where they put a law into place to stop people from filing lawsuits against
There's some lawsuits are unwanted for
and so that's always going to be a catch-22 for this reason right here. If brutality takes place, you want the person to be able to sue. But if the cop uses some reasonable amount of force that he needed to use in a situation, if he used a reasonable amount of force that he needs to use in a situation, and then people are filing these frivolous lawsuits, against cops, and then that's making cops pull back on using force when necessary, which making it harder for them to do their job and putting them in danger. So when they try to correct that problem, they create another problem. So now the bad cops can go and do some ill shit, and then they got more protection. So if you give more protection to the people, then there's less protection for the cops, and then so you give more protection for the cops in that situation. Now the bad ones can run amok, but the good ones do. The Officer Faulkner does need that protection to where if he assess a situation and realize that 300-pound guy need to get belly to back suplex, he need to be able to do that without any fear of being sued or losing his job, because not being able to do that increases the chance that 300-pound guy was going to fuck Officer Faulkner up. So
you got to remember, or the citizens, because there's many a times we get into confrontations. It's not because it's police initiated. The majority of them is because somebody said you need to come here and come here yesterday.
Well,
hold on, wait, hold on. You're saying the majority of, and I've always felt this way.
The majority of our interactions is because we're called to the scene.
Right, but I'm talking about when things get violent and out of hand. It's normally because a simple request was asked, and it wasn't. Hold on, wait. Let's see some ruffling in the background. I hear some ruffling in the background. A simple request was asked, and then it wasn't complied with. Like if you tell somebody come here or turn around or because you're going to cuff them or whatever, and then they don't comply, and then they try to get away, and then you grab them, and then now he's trying to get away, and then now you're tussling, and then he's been belly to back suplexed. It turns into a situation where the only thing that he initially did was selling some loose cigarettes.
You took away all the context of what I was saying. I said most of the times we interact with people on different incidents is because we're called there. Majority of the time we're called because most of you, when you see police, majority of you are going to see patrolmen or patrol officers.
Oh, okay. I see the point. The point that you were making is that y'all just don't see people and then just pull up on them and go to, normally you interact with people when you're called.
Most police
but
want to
Charles,
avoid calls.
You heard the thing, right?
Okay.
I said earlier, right?
No.
You heard about this, right?
No, I didn't hear what you were saying.
No, they said it was some new thing, that some new law or something they put in that way you don't have to sue the police if they take like force. This was floating around throughout the internet. I don't know if Dennis he did cover this. I didn't watch his channel on it, but
what was it?
Yeah, there's something that put in. I don't know if it's put in effect, but it's going around making its way. It's round. So I'm thinking, yes, there is danger that there are some criminals, actual ones that will take advantage, and they have sued law enforcement. Am I right, Charles?
Yeah.
Concern lethal force, and for those who didn't take lethal force and they get attacked that you're not taking your right to, if you feel you're abused and you do nothing, then you should be suing. So is right now how we look at it that, because a lot of our people are not in the law enforcement, you're going to have a sticky situation as a black man where you play. You get me? With an institution that's 80% non-black, while we're only 20%.
Do you know how many? Do you know what the percentage of?
You gotta take your poison. Pick your poison, people.
Do you know what the percentage of black officers are in this nation? Anybody want to take a guess?
Okay. The percentage of black officers?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we made up essentially our population percentage.
You make up the 14% of law enforcement.
Yeah, so that's roughly our population.
It's the same population, and white people roughly make up the same as law enforcement as their population. Hispanics actually are at 17%. So when we look at a lot of this shit, we got to look at it with a fine-tooth comb. Are you willing to let other people patrol your neighborhoods better than you? And it really points down to, how do you really see black men? Do you see them as people who can be in power? Do you see them as men and women who can actually govern accordingly? Many of you don't. A lot of you still have that racist mentality of, you know what, I need me a white doctor.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
A lot of you still have that shit that if a black man tells me what to do, I'm gonna get upset. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of issues I've seen from coaching wrestling for 22 years, and a lot of the incidents that happen is because, number one, you got brothers out there who, for some odd reason, don't understand nor comprehend nor receive well male authority. If your mother came outside, you would snap to attention like a goddamn soldier. Black male authority, especially.
You gotta correct that, trust. Yeah.
Not even just they don't even respond to male authority, period, because male authority is shut down in the black community.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, if they responded to overall male authority, they wouldn't be resisting arrest and all kind of other stuff so much. So I mean,
it's like this. If you're scared of me, this is the shit I tell people. If you're really that afraid that I'm gonna do all this brutality shit, why the fuck would you make it harder? Like, okay, I heard guys, because they were cool. Yep, pulled them over. Got to take you out the car. You got a warrant. All right, I'm gonna do you a solid. Call your peoples down and call them on the phone. I'll let your peoples come pick up your car, then towing it. If they could come here by 20, 25 minutes, we'll let them take your car and they drive. Or if your car's parked, we'll leave it parked and we won't tow it. There are some people who've been so cool on arrest, can I smoke a cigarette? Yeah, go ahead, man. You cool. You cool. All right, let you puff your cigarette while you're in cuffs. Can I tell can my wife, can she take my jewelry or whatever? Yeah, sure. Here you go. But their situations dictate. Then you got some assholes who, just being for the sake of being an asshole, just want to fight. We can't, just like when people say the citizens aren't robots, neither are the police. I had people look at me weird in Panera Bread eating breakfast with other officers. Like, man, I'm shocked to see y'all eating. That's how human beings survive, right? That's how we generate. We have to eat because our metabolism turns this into energy, and we have to use this to pretty much move and live. Like, people look at you like, "Wow, I didn't know y'all eat." Just like the other day, like a couple of years ago, people were like shocked to see me in a comic book store, and I'm like, I've been reading comics for over 30 years. Like, I'm just shocked. I'm shocked that y'all go to these places. They see me at GameStop. I didn't know cops play games. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you're buying a new man.
Like you don't have a goddamn life outside of the uniform or something.
All right. JC in the building with Super Chat. He says, shout out to all cops. That is not an easy job. Woo!
Woo!
All right, we about to pass the mic to Before the Billions. Thank you for your patience. And I was supposed to hit you up. I apologize for that. I was supposed to hit your email. My bad. But go ahead. You got the floor. You got the mic.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Bernard, for having me up on the channel.
Oh yeah, what up?
Yeah, so most of you guys don't know, yeah, my dad was a police officer with Fulton County Police. He actually was a lieutenant. Then he was working as a police officer for over 20 years. So, I have a completely different experience with police, because I actually see them, in the precinct and, can speak to them. And then people say, oh, and I had the same exact name as my dad. So whenever I get like any interaction with, a police officer or something like that, they actually know my dad and they'll be like, oh, wait, you got the same name as him. Um, and then it's gotten me out of a few things because they'll know my dad and they'll be like, okay, your dad trained me. So and what I will say is that yes, exactly what Officer Faulkner is saying is that yeah, they are most definitely just regular people. My dad goes to the gym, goes to the movies, GameStop, all that kind of stuff. So I do see that, and then they listen to rap music just like how we do. So um and overall, like the way that my dad kind of raised me was, like just like how Officer Faulkner is saying, like just don't make things harder. He said that he would tell me like, hey, you can pretty much pull over anybody, and then something's going to be wrong. For the most part. I'm not gonna say everybody, but for the most part, something's going to be wrong. Um, so what you're gonna do is like, hey, if you ever get pulled over, um, just go ahead and make sure that you're not cursing or anything like that. Because and then also he gave me this sticker as well. Supposed to get you out of trouble as well. Like it's like a bumper sticker you put on your car. As like PBA or something like that on there. But yeah, overall exactly what Officer Faulkner is saying is that, hey, just most of the time most of the time people don't like writing tickets. And then a lot of police officers don't know how to write tickets correctly, so they got to go up to the lieutenant or somebody to help them out with writing a ticket. Don't know how to spell certain things sometimes. Because they make mistakes as well. And overall, we're just all humans. Just being a police officer is one of the most dangerous jobs that there is. And actually, my dad actually retired recently, but he retired because of all the riots that were going on in Atlanta. And if you guys don't know, in Atlanta, we actually do need the police because we have these affluent areas that are getting shot up, like at Lenox Mall. If you guys don't know, Atlanta, right? It's Lenox Mall is in Buckhead, and that is a very nice area. That they have all the like Gucci stores and stuff like that, and they had to put in metal detectors because they had a few people get shot and killed over there, and then they also had people who were like one of the security guards was shot in broad daylight, and then also we had I think it was like the police chief or somebody got his car broken into. So Atlanta, right now is pretty much in need of more police officers because a lot of them quit. And because we have so much crime going on right now, it's getting crazy.
That
Yeah.
sounds odd. You say police officers quit their job because it was so much crime.
Yeah, because
That's
because of the riots and the whole defund police, we had Keisha Lance Bottoms come in as mayor. She's not going to run for a second term, and then also
Well,
Buckhead. There's somebody put in the chat like Buckhead's about to leave Atlanta. I don't think they can leave Atlanta because it takes a lot of political power and stuff like that, a whole bunch of money. Buckhead got some money, but not enough to just leave Atlanta.
well, they probably going through similar to what Baltimore's going through, where not a lot of people are joining the police department. You're drafting people, which will wear you down. Imagine you're working an 8, 10 hour shift and you got to work another 5, 6, 7. That takes a lot of toll on you mentally. And a lot of people don't understand what we mean by that. It's like that toll that takes on you breaks you, especially when you're doing this over and over and over. And a lot of times we forget there's a lot of police officers who are injured and they come back and they may get years down the line, they may get injured again. On top of there's some people who may go through divorces and all the other shit. They got to go through child care and all this other stuff. And when you have a city, because a lot of these cities that are especially the democratically ran cities, you start to notice they feed off this anti-police sentiment. And instead of saying to people and standing up to people, be like, look, if a cop does something wrong, we'll put our attention to that. We'll deal with that as accordingly. But you're not going to disrespect my police. And everybody says we need, and I listen to these fucking anarchists, or idiots as I call them. We should disband the police. Go ahead. Go ahead. A lot of black people don't even believe in firearms. So the only reason a lot of shit doesn't happen is because you live in a police state. I've been to Iraq and other countries. Do you have enough money to put a 15-foot wall in front of your house? Most of you don't. So when you actually look at this on a day-to-day schedule, I think that one, you should have more training events for civilians because, like I said earlier, only 1/2 of 1% of Americans actually protect America. It was a while ago in Baltimore. You had this pastor. He was into the communities, protesting the police and everything. So he was invited for a training scenario. He was given a simunitions gun. If you don't know what simunitions are, think of a paintball gun, but faster. It looks exactly like our Glocks, but it only fires that paintball round. He was given handcuffs, the duty belt, and he was put in a scenario.
I think we.
Huh?
Oh, there you
Can
go.
you hear me? And he
Oh
was.
no, we lost you for like 2 seconds. You back? You good?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, and he was put in a scenario that said, okay, you have two men arguing. Okay, go handle it. They just gave him that. So they were arguing, yelling at each other in this scenario, and the guy started coming to him yelling, and he was like, "But you gotta understand, this guy." And you know what the pastor did? He pulled out his weapon and he shot the guy 3 times. He was like, "Why you shoot him?" Well, he was coming towards me. But why did you shoot him? And he was like, "Oh, I didn't exactly." So when you have more transparency to actually, which is the case that Bernard was asking the female officer, he was asking for transparency. Just, I'm okay that y'all stopped me and y'all had to do what you do, but at least explain to me. That's transparency. So when he went through more scenarios, he's like, oh, I couldn't do this. Because a lot of times you're judging people off of what happens in like less than 3 seconds, and they're going to be judged for the next year to two. They have to make decisions that quick. Like, think about it. Out of nowhere, boom, 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 boom. Somebody's got a gun and they're running in the middle of the street. And there's some oh shit moments. Think about it. You might have two people fighting for no reason in the middle of the street and you're eating breakfast or lunch. You had people shoot at an officer's car. Years ago, you had a guy trying to snipe officers in their patrol cars. So a lot of times people think, oh, well, these officers hate us. No, no, no. You're going to have some assholes. Just like I told the brother earlier, when that cop told him, you're not my brother. That's an asshole move to do to a child. If anything, you want to go out of your way being nice to children because they're going to be the adults you deal with later. And a lot of these, and you're the closest thing. If you're a firefighter, military personnel, or police officer, to a little kid, you're like the closest thing to a goddamn superhero to them.
Yeah.
They should have, every child who goes to sleep should feel great that there's somebody who's in a uniform that's going to keep them safe, even up to the cost of their life. I don't give a fuck how you feel. From anybody on the panel or the chat, that's the number one thing you should do. Do the children and the people you serve feel safe when they're around you? Because guess what? There could have been many a times I could have been giving up my life or taking a life. And I'm the one who has to live with it. People can say all they want. Oh, well, the police aren't your friend. We're not supposed to be your friends. We're supposed to be civil servants. We're supposed to keep the peace and preserve life and liberty. So till you get ready to actually deal with real power, real responsibility, you cannot obtain real power. Somebody else could get it.
All right. Charles Merchant in the building says, salute to Officer Faulkner. We may have ideological differences, but he should be respected as a man first and also as an officer. Absolutely, Charles Merchant. We
Ooh,
need
thank you.
more people with that thought process in these spaces. Frederick Lander says, to referring to the 300-pound guy that Officer Faulkner said he was tussling with for 20 minutes. I said he should belly to back suplex him. But anyway, he says Officer Charles would lose his back, not his life, trying to belly to back suplex him. Well, you got to take into account how much Officer Faulkner weighs. Now, I don't think I could belly to back suplex a 300-pound guy. He probably can.
I'm a wrestling coach for several years. I belly to belly several 300. A lot of college guys. Put it to you this way: there's a lot of guys who wrestle in the city. At some point, I coached a lot of people, not just in the school where I coached. I'm big and strong enough. I'm not super tall. I'm only 5'10". I'm big and strong enough to know and skilled enough to wrestle these guys. They can't get a workout with guys in their weight class other than me. So I was working out with this one guy during the Christmas or winter break. By the time because he was a 300, he had to get down in weight. But he went down to 186 from 315. So working out with me, he actually went back to his college in Iowa and became number 2 in the nation. So yeah, I'm used to throwing 300-pound guys around. It's not fun till you got to move that around, but it's fun.
All right. We got Truth Teller in the building. Go ahead. You got the floor. You got the mic. Welcome to the show.
Hey, gentlemen, how you guys doing? I really just had a question for Mr. Faulkner. So, I think most of the issue that you'll hear from Black folk regarding the police, some of the things that you guys already talked about, what they might do to us, they racist, they this, they that, they that. I've had good interactions with the police. I've had bad interactions with the police. I'm not one of those cursed. I was born and raised in the hood, but you can't tell if I'm talking to an officer. So it's gone either way for me. But I do have a question about accountability. From my own experience, or what I could tell publicly, it's hard for police officers to be held accountable. What's your perspective on that, seeing how you've done the job? What do you think about that?
This current time of policing, I have 2 words put into a compound word: bullshit. And I'm gonna tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who, just like Terrell Hall and Joshua Hall, when they have trial boards, people unjustly terminate or penalize officers, even though the officer was acquitted in court. And they'll still charge or terminate officers. There have been times when Internal Affairs IID or the Integrity Bureau units, whatever the fuck they call themselves these days, will falsify claims against officers. So we're held accountable even more so. And let's say you could be found acquitted in court, in criminal court. They'll still try to charge you departmentally and fire you. So you're held to especially in the last, 5, 10, 55, close to 10 years, you're being penalized heavily. And a lot of times people will complain about crazy shit. You'll have people saying, that officer stole, that officer did this, or that officer did that. And the amount of penalizing officers now is so gross, because I'm like, well, that guy had excessive force. What is excessive force? We have to really define what excessive force is. Because if somebody would have videotaped the fight I had with that guy, a lot of people in this panel and chat be like, "Oh, that's excessive." But this guy is fighting me and he's grabbing weapons and he's consistently still fighting. He's not giving up. So it's more so of the court of public opinion than versus the court of law.
Well, hold on, because we've seen several reports come out of police officers. They're accused of something, they got recorded doing something, and after a number of months, maybe even years, their record comes out, and it seems they've had multiple reports of these instances, and some of
Now,
them have
if
gotten
you go,
promoted.
I'm gonna give you an example, right?
Sure.
If you read about the incidents, the use of forces that I've been in,
Hmm.
and you would think, oh, this guy, he's violent. Okay, you could think that, but what have you had to deal with what Officer Faulkner had to deal with these guys? Like literally, it's a joke, but it literally happened. Like every Friday, it was like Friday night fights my first 2 years. Like, all right, come on, man. The guy like, I'm not going back to jail, or I'm not going to jail, and he wants to fight you. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Look, I got my shit out the cleaners, man. I smell good. Got my new cologne on. Why we doing this shit? And you're like, if you deal in a very rough neighborhood, yeah, this 9 out of 10, you might have to go fight a motherfucker, even if you
Right.
didn't want to. And people are not realistic about that. Like, I'm not trying to get in the fights. I don't think it's fun all the time. I mean, some pump up the adrenaline because the adrenaline's pumped up because you don't know what can happen. But a lot of times you always got to discover, okay, why does this guy have use of forces? Is it because he's just saying, okay, you over there, I'm gonna kick your ass? Or is he going through a situation where he's in a neighborhood or in a situation where force needs to be taken? If that guy says, if that guy does something criminal and he says, I'm not going, I'm gonna fuck you up, I'm like, force has to be taken.
I get that
For it's
completely. No. I get that
But
completely. But
when you have people who commit crimes, that's a different story. Who are cops, that's a different story. Now, that's why I said each individual cop, just like
yeah,
if I had to pick between you and Bernard for a job, and you have you have the certifications we need and Bernard doesn't, okay, that's an individual state. Just like if you take the record of one cop versus another. Oh, this cop doesn't have anything. Well, let's look why this cop has no excessive force, or not even excessive force, because every use of force is written down. At least should be. So you start looking like, okay, why doesn't this officer have excessive force? Oh, that officer, he's working at the station all day, so he doesn't interact with the public. This one, we put him in our most, our most crime infested area. So certain things going to happen. Like, okay, these, you know, he's got to deal with drug dealers compared to you go to one part of the district, like the Northern District in Baltimore. You could deal with drug dealers or Greenbelt, and then you ride up about 2 miles or a mile and a half, and you'll see $1 million homes where he's not going to deal with that. He's going to deal with a different entity of crime. Like you're going to see more larceny from autos. You're going to see more burglaries and things of that nature. So you got to look at things case by case, officer by officer, person by person. If that clarifies things.
it does, but it raises another question. So I get it, and I get the human aspect of what you're referring to in that cops are people too, but that doesn't change your job description. So what happens if your humanity conflicts with the job description? does that mean you're a bad cop?
Meaning what?
Meaning, well, I got to fight every Friday with these dudes, and he don't want to go to jail. He's gonna give me problems, just like you said. Got my stuff out the cleaners and smelling good. This is frustrating. I got to do this every weekend.
You either
But
got
to
two types of
certain,
people. You
uh
got
huh,
two types of people. Either you're gonna get used to it or you're gonna leave. Some people get jaded, and it makes people not want to do anything. So it's once again case by case, person by person. Not everybody's gonna be an asshole. Some people are gonna have a sunny disposition over others.
that's true. What's your opinion on making uh, police interaction public record?
It
Meaning,
is public
officer
record.
complaint,
It
not
is
not
public
if they have
record.
not if they have complaints or knocks on their record.
Like,
That's not
I mean, the complaints are usually public record.
not in all places, but yeah, in some most places, well, not even most places,
Remember what I
not even
said.
most places.
Usually,
Yeah,
most places they're public record.
but
If the person has a
let's say the officer was involved in a case where something went haywire. He wasn't prosecuted, but uh, the state or the county or the city settled out in court for the plaintiff, who
It's
took it to
called
court.
the Freddie Gray case. They settled
Uh,
out of they settled out of court before the officers even went to court.
yeah, I
Notice
remember.
notice how easy I can answer your questions. Like that one the reggae song. I'm too experienced. Yes. Um,
So, how
like
do you feel? Should that information be public record as well?
which one?
Meaning, I can look up the officer's record and see, oh, he's been involved in these claims cases that they've all settled out, and he seems to
I
be.
mean, it's like for example, when I talked about the
Mhm.
lady, I don't know if the department settled out or took her seriously. I don't know. But at the
Right,
same time, I could look at this case and be like, well, he had to use force to subdue this lady.
right.
And people are gonna say, well, that's fucked up. He put his hands on a lady. Then you're gonna have people like, okay, let's look at this. Let's look at this very carefully because you're gonna have different people saying, well, that officer, he's been in he's been in 20 fights in 2007. We put him in the neighborhood where it was the worst and the most violent people live in that district. And unfortunately, everybody in that neighborhood doesn't go by please and thank you either. It everything has to take context. You get what I'm saying? Like if I put you in the Eastern District, you're gonna deal with drugs, 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 homicide, homicide, drugs, 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 homicide, homicide, drugs, drugs, drugs. Once in a while, you might deal with a B&E. Compared to more of a bulk of the city's homeowners. Not saying people don't own homes in the Eastern or Western, they do, but the bulk of the city's homeowners are in the Northeast and Northern. So because those are the two largest districts, so you're going to deal with more burglaries. You're going to deal with more intricate shit. You literally have 83, which is covered, majority of 83 is covered by my district. So you're going to deal with more traffic. You're going to deal, and depending on, because you have like a melting pot within one district, you're going to deal with a variety of things compared to other districts where you might have to deal with three major things. So everything takes context. If that person has, just because an officer has a use of force doesn't mean it's bad, does it? Sometimes some officers are just fucking unlucky, and that's how I felt my first two
That's
years.
true.
Like God damn it! Like really again? Like God damn! Like that's how it is. It's just you're just unlucky some days. Like fuck. Like I don't feel like chasing this motherfucker, but I have to because he's on an armed robbery warrant. So I don't feel like fighting this motherfucker. But if he does it, he's gonna hurt me or hurt everybody else in here. Like there's times I'm walking at a Rite Aid and you got a guy throwing cans of infidel, and he hits a girl in the face, and
Damn.
and I had to like, it wasn't a belly to belly, it was more of a shoulder throw,
Yeah.
and I had to put him in a fucking hold that you probably couldn't pronounce. So that shit happens as soon as you walk in the door. I'm reading I'm always friends with people with comic book shops because I'm a big fan. And I guess because people know me to come in and frequent the store so much, the security officer who was working the area said, yeah, these three people just robbed this store, even though it wasn't a robbery, they just shoplift. But I ended up tracking all three and arresting them and returning the property. Right place,
What they
right time, I
take?
guess.
Well, all right, all right. We
Sorry,
gotta, we
sorry.
gotta. No, no, you good, you good. We getting close to wrapping this bad boy up. We do got to go to Freedman's Journal in the building. Go ahead, you got the floor. You got the mic. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hey, I just wanted to say, um, Truth Teller actually kind of touched on it, the challenges of policing, especially with what went down in 2020, because I kind of feel like the Ferguson effect and the political message of 2020 has done a lot to impede proactive policing. Because I don't know if I might have missed it before if we had talked about just what is happening in our cities with the homicides, because the homicides are going nuts. I mean, nuts. And these aren't, I mean, these are black bodies that are stacking up. And, uh, it seems like a lot of the proactive policing is gone. Because my buddy in Chicago used to be actually proud of the fact that the crime was so controlled despite the kind of nationwide image of Chicago. He's like, hey, I just park on the right side of the street and my car is fine. But now, I mean, there are shootings going down everywhere, like Asian neighborhoods, white neighborhoods, where it never happened before, and there are just many more black people dying. So I wondered if Officer Charles can talk about maybe the disincentives to proactive policing.
Um, One, that's because of the culture of police. They want you to be a more hands-off police, and basically, it's not the police you wanted. It's the police you deserve. You want police to be hands-off. You want police to be chill. You're getting them, and because nobody wants to go to jail, nobody wants to go and be called a bad cop because somebody misconstrued that he had to take force. Now, if you're putting your knee on somebody's neck while they're handcuffed for 9.5 minutes, yes, you deserve to go to jail, and you're a fucking idiot. But a lot of times we're getting into these issues where a lot of cops are not trying to lose their houses, they're not trying to lose their families, and they rather take the initiative to say, you know what, fuck all this. If this is what y'all want, you can have it. You can definitely have it. If you want us to be hands off, remember, this is what you asked for. And a lot of people don't understand it. They refuse to understand it, as a matter of fact. And what hurts them at the long run is that if you do not take over these police jobs, guess who's going to fill them up? The people you complain about.
Exactly, exactly. If you drive away the people who actually want to be cops, and then you can't get people to come in, you're going to get the second and third tier choices. The guys you're going to import guys that couldn't get on their local department, so you're going to get lower standard guys eventually, because you're like places like Seattle and whatnot. They're having to
Mhm,
recruit and offer bonuses,
mhm,
and the guys you got to offer a
mhm.
bonus, you don't want those dudes, in my opinion.
Yeah, you don't, and there's some people you got to recruit, and there's some people who it was their divine destiny to become one. And I've seen a lot of people in the chat talk about, oh well, cops died of COVID more than gunfire. You know why? Because we're exposed. That's why. So we're exposed more than the average person. We got to still solve your shit. But notice you never heard of one person in the chat say, you know what? I'm gonna take up the call. We go through this lane of complaining, but we won't. We really don't want to do shit to put the pieces back together or make the situation better. It's everybody's fault except your own. Notice how we took pride in our community. Even if you didn't have a child, you would mentor a child in some fashion, well, if it's academic, athletic, or morally. But now you rather that child, yeah, figure it out on your own. We bastardize a lot of shit in our community, and nobody wants to hear about it. And I'm sorry, it's your responsibility for protecting your community. You can talk about Blackistan. I don't give a damn if you're liberal, conservative. Nobody gives a fuck because as soon as they see you, they're gonna see black. Go ahead, challenge it. You really think a lot of these conservatives are gonna treat you like a brother? No. A lot of them white conservatives don't even understand black people, let alone treat you like a brother. And this is the reason why I said in terms of power, you have to be in a powerful position. So if you want better treatment, you're gonna have to take the initiative, or you're gonna have to train your sons to take the initiative. I've noticed I put the Gray Faulkner initiative. Hopefully, people downloaded the PDF. If they can add on to make what's better, to make it a better initiative, then do it. I don't want to hear any more complaining. Do your part.
Right on, good stuff. We're gonna actually close on that note right there, and the Gray Faulkner initiative. You know, I put it like this, man. When I got 1,000,000 subs someday, man, I will. I definitely. Well, watch it. I have to wait till I got 1,000,000 subs to promote it. But I'm just saying, but overall, I think you get my point. That something like that, it needs to get out there widespread. It needs to, I'm absolutely with it. Black men do need to be joining the police force in the military. I ain't doing it, but black men do need to be joining the police force in the military and the whole work. I mean, we're doing it, but I think that's something that practically a takeover mentality. Like I always say, that a lot of the systems in this country, they're up for grabs. They're primed to be taken over in some way, shape, or form. So that would be definitely good. Great Faulkner initiative. We can close on that note right there. We can close on that note. We're going to get up out of here. I'd like to thank everybody who came through, who supported in any way, shape, or form. Shout out to KD and D-Rock who sent cash apps. Shout out to everybody who super chatted, liked, shared, subscribed, did anything to support the stream in any way, shape, or form. And most importantly, last but not least, thank you to Officer Faulkner, not just for your service. I mean, not just for coming on the show and doing a long overdue one-on-one with me today.
very,
Thank you.
very long
Thank
overdue.
Yeah,
Woo!
thank you.
It's the most anticipated overdue to talk about this because we're all black men, and they said we all we got.
Trying to close the show. You heard me trying to close the show. Somebody always do that to me, and I end up getting held hostage for another hour.
Well, actually, another 10 minutes.
This is normally the top part in the show. Obsidian would do that to me. He'd take the link right now. Right,
oh,
right
you said his name. You said his name. You shouldn't have said his name. Here he comes.
Right before I'm about to close, I did 3 hours. I'm about to get off the air. Obsidian come hop up. then I'm here for another hour.
Next time we do this, we got to talk about the difference between me and Officer Tatum.
That would be a good one because you mentioned conservatism at the end of the show, and
people who say they're conservative, I always tell them you're conservative light, okay? Unless you're gonna do what Russia and China is willing to do, which you're not, then you're not true patriarchal conservative.
But Charles, save that for next time.
Do you say that for shoot, no. See, now I'm asking.
I'm gonna either we can do it on my show, your show, but I'll tell you the differences between myself and Officer Tatum and things that I do agree and don't agree, because I will tell you this: there's some things black people have to eat, and there's some things black people don't. Just like if you ask me a question about the black community, there are some things that black women fucked up on. And every time I talk about it, people want to shame me about it. And I'm more like, fuck you. This is the truth. Go look it up in a history book. Stop going off your goddamn feelings, princess.
Right on. But all right. We about to get out here. Shout out to Charles Merchant, said he is an extreme conservative. Right on. All right, we out of here, y'all. Peace. We are gone. Gone. Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. I'm gonna play. Speaking of conservatism, hold on. Wait for it. This is what we getting out of here on. All right.